Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to this pretty late live stream that I kind of decided to do somewhat last second. Usually I do my music review Monday live stream every Monday 8:30 p.m. But I fell asleep, went to take a nap, and just ended up turning into sleeping. So I decided to just do kind of like a music marketing Q&A type stream to kind of give you some content on this Monday where I otherwise would have kind of provided that in the middle of the music review stream. So if you can hear me and you can see me, let me know in the chat so I can make sure everything's working okay. And also, if you have any questions related to music marketing, branding, Facebook ads, whatever, let me know in the chat. Get some questions queued up because this whole video is dedicated to answering questions. I don't know how long this is going to be, but we'll play it by ear. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about while I wait for the things to queue up. At first, I see we got Vaughn in the chat. So, hey man, I already said hey to you via text, but you actually already had a question. So I'm going to dive into that first, and then I'm going to talk about some other stuff. And I don't know how many people are going to tune into this because it's kind of late. I know some people that watch my channel are in like Australia and the UK or something, so they're definitely asleep. But for any of you who are in like the West Coast or something, it might be a reasonable hour, or even East Coast US. It's not that late. It's only like 11 p.m. for me. So Vaughn said, I'm going to start off with the first question. When I purely promote with ads, about how many saves and listeners you think it takes before you get picked up by the algorithm? And this is a very good question, and I don't think there's necessarily an easy answer to it. And so let me actually just look into my Spotify for Artists to see if I can find you a good example. I think I have a good example. So I'm going to be making a video on this tomorrow. I think I'm going to drop this. But if you remember, I had a remix contest a couple months ago. And in that remix contest, the #1 winner was Aharak. And he won a $100 Facebook ad campaign that I was going to run and manage and pay for. So that was his top prize. And so we're about $98 into the ad spend. So only $98, pretty small budget in the grand scheme of things. Hey, Kidney Pop, how's it going? Pretty small budget in the grand scheme of things. But still, he's at 10,000 streams. Now, his song performed fantastic. Every song is a little different. Every artist is a little different. His song went very well. And what happened was, let me show you the analytics. Is that this is when his song came out. And by the way, if you like, I'm not going to play it. But if you're interested in hearing it, the artist is Aharak and the song is Miracle. So if you want to check it out, it's a great song. It's kind of like, if you like Deadmau5, that kind of music, you'll probably like it. But came out here and we ran, I think, $20 a day for a few days, and then went down to 10, and now we're at like 3. So this first week was 100% ads, no algorithmic playlist. But then, like $80 into spending, it got on release radar, and it just popped. Now it's only been a little more than a week, so it's kind of too early to say if it's going to do well long term, but like it got on release radar, so it's probably going to get on Discover Weekly at some point. It might not be, today is Monday, so it could have gotten on today. I don't know the results yet, but it could be on Discover Weekly. But long term, we'll see how that plays out. And as I said, I'm going to make a video on that tomorrow. Tomorrow night it'll be dropping, where I go over this campaign, how I set it up, how I priced it, and the results in a little more detail, and kind of like a less rambly video. But you can see here, like in terms of listeners, I don't know, what is this? This is streams, so 400, like 600, 800, 1100, like 1100 streams, so probably 800 listeners, and that was enough to get him to pop on release radar. So his results fantastic, and I'll show you my friend. Let's see, who do I want to show? Just so I don't show you the wrong thing. Let me show you Jerry. So Jerry, I had him on. He was my last video. I did the how to make a living with music, and I'll show you his just because it's kind of free music promotion, I guess. But he does like kind of future-based music, and I helped him get one of his ad campaigns set up. and it came out on June 5th. And basically here is when it actually hit release radar. So in his case, it didn't happen as fast, but I don't think his budget was a little bit different. And so it kind of spread out over a bigger time. And he already had an audience. And with Spotify and how the algorithm works, it's not just a factor of listeners and streams equals this result. It's kind of like these listeners and these streams, but also factoring how big your audience already is. Like if you're Taylor Swift and you have, I don't know, a couple million Spotify followers, if you drop a song and it gets 5 plays, Spotify's going to know, like, wow, that song must have, like, sucked, you know, because it's kind of scaled in audience size, right? Like if Taylor Swift drops a song and it gets 10,000 plays in the first week, that's horrible for her. But if you have 50 followers in Spotify and you get 10,000 plays in your first week, that's fantastic for you. So Spotify looks at that a little bit differently from all the research that I've seen. So with him, he already had kind of an audience, and he hit release radar on this day, and you can see the Spotify algorithmic playlists. And he probably had, I don't know, just to kind of give a ballpark, 300, 600, 800, 1,000, like, I don't know, like 1,500 to 2,000 streams or so before he hit this release radar. And so that's roughly what I would say. I know it's not an exact answer, but that's kind of the reality of these algorithms. It's not always 100% exact, just because of the scaling factor for everyone. So yeah, if you're just joining in, usually I do my music review stream this week, but on Mondays, but I took a nap and then I ended up falling asleep for too long. So this is just kind of just a Q&A session. So ask me any music marketing questions you have, Facebook ads, whatever. Get them in the chat. And I'll just be diving question by question, and I'll talk about some other stuff, and if at some point there's not any more questions, well, I'll just log off. So get those questions in there if you have anything. So MAE917, hey, how's it going? How do you recommend to use your Spotify artist data for promotion? Would you recommend to boost your higher data listeners, or try to increase the ones that are low? Oh, this is an interesting question. So how do you actually use the data to influence your promotion? So, for example, 80% male, 20%. So I think what you mean is, like, if you see, like, okay, I have all these male listeners and almost no female listeners, should I maybe try to market different? Like, either change my marketing to target more men, or maybe I should be targeting more women? Or there's a couple ways you could think about it. Like, if you're an artist that you think should be roughly 50-50 because of the style of music you are, you might think, like, 20% female, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, am I targeting wrong? Are my Facebook video ads skewed to be more appealing to men than women? Or is it the case that in Facebook ads it tends to be more expensive on average to target women? So there's a lot of nuance to this. Hey Justin, by the way. And I don't know, it's going to be different for every single case, right? So let me actually look at my ads for an example, so I can kind of give you a better idea of what we're talking about. So let me clean up my interface here, and then I'll share my screen. On Facebook, 9. So this might be a little cluttered just because of the way my split screen is, but this is a campaign I'm running for a new song that I dropped, which, by the way, if you want to check it out just for reference, this is my band Murder Night, and we dropped this song on Friday. So we're like a pretty brand new artist, like we're not very big at all, but the song's doing very well in ads. 9% conversions, which is one of the best results I've ever gotten on any of my own releases. I've helped other artists out that have done even better than mine, just because either their music's better or they have better branding or whatever. But this is the best I've gotten on my own music. And so if you look at the data, I'll pull it up on Spotify for artists as well. But you can see so far here, like it's still running day to day just because it's a new song. But if we look at so far the results, oh, actually, it doesn't show the male-female there, but I'll look here. So this is a total sausage fest, right? 88% male, 5% female. There's actually more not specified than there are women, checking out this ad. So for us, we're making dubstep metal. It's like a mix of dubstep, trap, and metal infused together. So I would think in general that's kind of a very male audience. I'm not going to talk about the cultural reasons and why men or women are more likely to be in certain genres, but that is the case. Some genres are just total sausage fest. So for me, I look at this and say, that makes sense. But it won't always make the sense for you, especially if you're doing a genre that's not the case. And one way to look at that is if you look at this breakdown window, you can go by delivery and look at gender. And so I can see here the difference between men and women. You see 1,100 men and 33 women clicked in the ad. And men were 9 cents and women were 15 cents. So what Facebook sees there is, okay, women are more expensive, so we're going to put more budget into the men. And this is kind of like again, I'm not going to get into the cultural and gender issues with this, but women are in general more expensive to target because apparently what I've heard is that women are more targeted by advertisers because apparently there's statistics that show they're more likely to spend money online. So that brings up the ad cost for targeting women overall compared to men. So in general, most of the time I see this as well. It's Facebook tends to put more of my budget towards men because it ends up being a couple cents more expensive to target women. So sometimes what I'll do with my own music is I'll be like, I don't see, like, it's annoying to me that difference is there. I don't want to have I want to have a more diverse audience. And so that's why I target all Spotify countries. And that's also why sometimes I will get a separate ad set and target like only women. And I'll force it to target women. Even though it's a little more expensive, it's not that much more expensive. And so I'll do that to try to boost up those numbers. So those are a couple ways that you might go about using that data to actually influence your ads. If you think it should be something different or you want to diversify your audience, you can look at that data and say, okay, well, and actually I'll give you another example here, the age. Let me look at my music because it has a bigger audience so far. This is 13% female, and it is mostly 18 to 34. And for me, that makes perfect sense. If I saw a bunch of like 45 to 60-year-olds, I'd be like, that's super weird, and that's not the audience I'm going for. And that might make me think, okay, well, either my branding's totally wrong, or I'm totally messed up who my target audience is, or my ads are out of whack. And so those are the kind of things you want to think about, like, what is it that's causing that difference? But yeah. Cool, so a whole bunch more people have joined. Hey Justin, hey Sean, hey Denzaya, and Nilophone, and Beast Brody, and Kitty Pop again. So let me again, I'm just kind of doing a Q&A here, so let me just go to the next question. Sean MND, Sean Mind, maybe? Hey Andrew, curious, what is your approximate cost per follower acquisition in your Spotify campaigns? In the Toned In video, you mentioned something about getting better results in your own campaign. So let me grab my spreadsheet that I've pulled up a whole bunch of times to kind of show you. Every song that I do, I make a spreadsheet like this. And I apologize, it might be a little hard to see on the video. You might have to go full screen to see the cells in this. But I'll show you the Socialize one. And this was my song, not my most recent single, but my last single, not including the remix album I dropped on Friday. But what I did is I track it. Let me shrink this a little bit so I can show you all the columns. So I do have a cost per follower value. So this column's a little bit skewed because I was running Toned In ads at the same time. And just to give everyone a little bit of background perspective on this, Toned In is a service that they offer free landing pages, free download gates, and they also offer an ad platform where they can essentially run Facebook ads for you. I did a video about them. If you type in like Andrew Southworth Toned In, Toneden on YouTube, it'll come up. I don't have the link off the top of my head. Or you just check my channel, you'll find it. But they have a thing that it just sets up all the ads for you. All you type in is your target artist that you want to target in ads, and then it goes in and it grows your Spotify following at a pretty good result. And just full disclosure, they did not sponsor that video, but they did give me a 1-year free license to test it out, just to kind of be transparent. So that's the kind of backstory. Now, this is the results for my own campaigns, my own Facebook ads. But starting about here, I was also running toned-in ads, so that's why this is so much cheaper here compared to what it was doing before. So basically, when I run ads, I track on a daily basis for the first week or so, like streams per day, total number of streams, the total number of ad spend. I calculate the cost per stream. I write down the listeners, the saves, then I calculate the save rate, calculate the listen rate, I tally up the playlists. I get all this data from the audience section. If you go to the music, you can get all this audience data, like source of streams. I track that on a day-to-day basis so I can see how the campaign kind of evolves. And then I also track followers manually. And that allows me to calculate the gained followers per total, the total number of gained followers during the campaign, and then also the cost per follower. So the cost per follower for this song ended up being like $1.20, $1.10, $1.20. If I look at my campaign for Dreaming, let me shrink some of these so I can fit this all in on one screen. I'll just have to scroll. So this is running, as of more recently, $1.50 to $2 per follower. Now keep in mind, this campaign is not to grow followers. This campaign, I'm sending people to the song, not my page. And there's a huge difference. If I send someone to this page here, they're much more likely to follow than if I send them to here, where they're much more likely to save. Because just human nature, there's going to be a higher percentage of people who perform the easiest action. If you send someone here, following isn't even an option. They have to click on your name, apparently wait for the page to load. What the hell, Spotify? Well, anyways, they have to wait for the page to load, and then they have to hit click follow. I don't know why it's not. Oh, there we go. Then they have to click follow. If I send people to this page, it's the first option to follow. So naturally, a higher percentage of people are going to follow when I send them the page. In both of these campaigns, I was sending them to the song. So what happens is the cost per follower ends up being, $1.10 to $2. It's kind of expensive, but remember, it's a side effect. It's not the focus. With toned-in, you're sending people to your profile. That's the default way they run their Spotify growth campaigns. And I don't have an explicit data set for just running that, because in the past couple months I've only been promoting songs as my main thing. So I can't definitively say running toned-in, I know I was getting between 20 cents and 80 cents per follower. But I don't have an exact example setting that in Facebook ads, but how they run their campaigns is no secret. So if I run the campaigns myself, setting up the exact same way they do, which is already how I run my ads, I would expect getting that 20 cents to 80 cent value. And that's kind of just how it all works out. Now, let me queue up something here. Man, I have way too many things open right now. All right. Sorry, I just had to get some stuff settled in the background. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question. But yeah, that's the backstory. So toned-in, T-O-N-E-D-E-N, that's the platform that does it by itself. If you don't want to learn the Facebook ads, but keep in mind that if you're not spending $300 or $400 a month at least, toned-in is going to be kind of pricey for you, just because it's somewhere between $50 and $150 a month just to get access to that feature, depending on which options you select. So unless you're spending that big budget, toned-in's probably not worth it. But if you are spending that budget, it's a pretty great option, because it's going to be such a small percentage of your budget. So if you're not spending that, I recommend learning how to do it yourself, basically. Then Justin Nelson, thanks for doing this. This is awesome. Sweet. Over the past 7 days, I've been following your Facebook/Insta marketing closely and have sunk about $70 in so far. So I feel like my sample size is decent. Sweet. And then I see a couple posts down, you wrote, right now I'm getting about 40 cents per conversion on my lookalike audience. In your experience, is this roughly in line with what you'd expect? Yes, it's a little pricier than what I would expect. But it is within reason. When people tell me they're spending $1, I'm like, you can almost definitely get that down in almost every case I've seen, you can get that down lower. 40 cents, it's within the range, so I typically will say 10 cents to 40 cents per conversion is what you should see, depending on the quality of your ad, depending on how your targeting is, depending on your style of music. So 40 cents is within that ballpark. I would expect that you could get that down. One way to do it is to make multiple ads. And I'll give you an example inside Facebook ads to show you this. So this is my song Be Mine. Again, I just showed it. Murder Night is my side project with my friend Big Jer. It's kind of like dubstep metal. So it's pretty, like, I'm going to make a video on that too once the campaign's done. A lot of people are like, I'm in this super weird style of music. I'm doing like progressive funk metal or something. And it's like, it still works. Like I'm marketing a song that is dubstep trap metal. And it's my best performing price ever at 9 cents per conversion. I've gotten better for other artists that are in like emo rap / hip-hop genres. That tends to be the easiest type of music to market. You can imagine, right? It's more commercial, so it's naturally going to be easier to market. But this is dubstep metal. And so if we look at the targeting I did here, I have 3 different ad sets, and inside of each one I had 3 ads. And you can see there's a pretty big difference in price, like 17 cents down to 11, depending on the ad. And if you look at the best performing ad set, the difference between 7 cents per conversion and 12 cents per conversion, that's greater than, that's like a 60% price difference. So just by running multiple ads, you might be able to drop your cost by 60%. And that's why I always do multiple ad sets and multiple ads inside of each ad set, because that allows Facebook to go and say, okay, well this ad set's the cheapest, and this ad is the cheapest inside that ad set. So let's put the most budget towards that one. And also allows them to say, okay, well, this is the most expensive ad set, and this is the most expensive ad inside of that ad set. So let's not put as much budget into this whole ad set, and especially not this ad inside of that ad set. So try to reduce the cost. I would say multiple ad sets and multiple ads. That's kind of my first stab at reducing budget, is doing that. Cool. Hopefully that gives you a good, some good perspective there. So Denzaya asks, Denzaya Smith. Sorry, I couldn't pronounce it at first. Talk about iTunes promotion. So I don't have as much experience promoting iTunes because I'm kind of a streaming first artist. Like I promote streaming services as my #1 platforms because it's the biggest bulk of people, right? It's almost like, who doesn't have a Spotify account? Who doesn't have an Apple Music? You know, it's, if you go to 50 of your friends and ask, what do you listen to your music on? I bet like 40 of them might say Spotify, and the other 10 might say Apple Music. And you might not find anyone that doesn't have a streaming service for music. And if they don't, you know what they probably use? YouTube. So that's not to say that there aren't customers on iTunes, because there are. It's just, for me, it's not a big focus. But basically what I would do is inside of, I don't have a good way to show this inside Facebook ads right now. I'd have to set some stuff up. But there is a target inside of Facebook ads. So you could do people who like, you know, these artists or these genres, and people that like music downloads. And I would think that you'd be more likely to find sales on iTunes that way, because you're targeting people who have shown express interest into music downloads instead of streaming. So that would be my approach up first. There might be targeting available for people who are interested in iTunes, and there might be other options as well for people related to music downloads aside from just music downloads. So that would be my approach, but I don't have any data on that to say. And I would also think that maybe you'd be targeting older demographics. So if you're making hip-hop music, it might be harder than if you're making, I don't know, jazz or blues, because the demographic, you know, hip-hop is like super young, right? Like 13 to, well, I mean, everyone, like every age of group of people listen to hip-hop, but like the most common one I'd say is like 13 to 28, something like that. For something like jazz and blues, I would say it's probably more like 30 to 48 or something, or even older, right? I'm saying like the core kind of spread is going to be much higher than for hip-hop. So if you're doing hip-hop, you might not want to focus on iTunes as much, because like what 20-year-old is going to want to download a song on iTunes? Like for me, if someone gives me their download for free, it's like, I don't care. That's an inconvenience to me. Like, even when I buy a CD from an artist I love and want to support, I never even put the CD into a CD player because I don't care. I don't want the files. I'd rather just listen to them on Spotify. I'm only buying the CD to support the artist or because it comes with something cool. So downloads for me, they're just an inconvenience. I don't want to put files on my phone. You know, that's why I don't focus on it. So hopefully that gives you kind of a good perspective on that. But it might be worth it. You know, I want to test it out at some point, but it's not my focus right now. Nylaphone asks, "Hey Andrew, you rule. Thanks. You rule too. You rule too. How long should I leave Facebook ads running for? The length of a release? Forever?" This kind of comes down to you. So for me, what I'll say, and I do have some data to back this up in Facebook ads, so I'll show you some stuff. For me, if I scroll down to my socialized campaign, this song came out, I don't know, when did it come out? Nope. Let's do, I love that Spotify added these extra options. It makes it much easier to look at your data. So this song came out Friday, May 8th. And I'm still, to this day, running $3 a day in ads. So it's essentially nothing. And the only reason I keep it running is because the songs are still doing pretty well, that I just like, well, I'll feed it, you know, $3 a day. It's like, kind of, who cares at that point. But for you, that might not be the case. So what I usually will say, let's use this as an example. So if the song comes out today, I'll say your first week, make it your biggest budget. You know, like maybe if you're going to spend let's say you're going to spend $300 on your single. So I'd say your first week, do the first 3 days, do $30 a day. So that'll give you $90 up to Monday. And then for the rest of the week, do 20. So that's at what? Like, I don't know, 180 or something dollar. I'm just guessing. It's not that, but you know, 180-ish. And then go down to $10 a day for another week. So now we're at like 250. Then go down to $5 a day for a week, and now we're at like almost 300. So, and then I would say put it down to like $3 a day, $2 a day, $1 a day, almost nothing. So you're kind of spreading your campaign like the first 3 days are like just the highest budget you want to do, because those are the most important days. And then the rest of the week, it's still pretty high, but you can tail it down a little bit. And then after it gets to that like 1 week mark, then you can start like being like, okay, I'm going to shave off 30% of my budget. Then a week later, another 30% or half. So 2 to 3 weeks, roughly. And then if you want to keep some kind of little petering amount going out, but it really depends on you, what your budget is, and how much, and kind of the results you're getting. Like if it's going great, you're going to keep it going longer than if it's not going great, right? So that's kind of how I think about it. Justin, oh yeah, I already asked that. Beast Brody, yo, I started watching your videos. I'm at 12 followers on Spotify. I decided to give Facebook advertising a try. Awesome. That's dope. I think you'll get some great results. And one thing that I'll show you here. So I mentioned the winners of my remix contest, right? And I showed you Aharak's campaign earlier. What I didn't show you, well, first of all, let me show you this. So he won a $100 Facebook ad campaign that I was going to pay for and manage. That was his prize for winning. You can see here, like, I didn't even see this until now. His change since last month is 143,000% increase in listeners, which is insane to me. In fact, I'm going to screenshot this so I can like use it for something later. Because that's just nuts. It's also just funny. I'm going to send that to some people. Just like this, like it's crazy. But what I wanted to show you here is the follower increase. So for a long time, he was only getting, you know, very infrequent followers. And he doesn't have much music out, and he's relatively new into this as well because he's a young guy. He's a teenager. So, but he won this campaign. So starting here, I started running these ads, and you can see like pretty quickly the numbers climb. And like this, he only won a $100 campaign, and it's almost done now. But for $100, we got him, you know, 31 followers, and we weren't even trying to grow followers. What we were doing is promoting this song. And the song did phenomenally well. The followers were just a side effect. So to get 30 followers as a side effect of something is great. So, well, what is the question? Oh yeah, that was just to give you some perspective on the ads and growing your followers and stuff like that. If you send people to your page instead of a song, you'll get you'll get like less than $1 per follower. But I recommend promoting a song, because what happens with a song is you can get this kind of algorithmic results. So it's good between releases to promote your page so that you can grow your following. But when you have a release, I think promoting the release is the smartest strategy. Excuse me. Because you can get an algorithmic playlist, like Release Radar. You can only target for your first 4 weeks, and it can be pretty substantial. Like, this was ads, and this was pretty good. This is good for ads, because we only had a $100 budget, so I couldn't spend too much. And the song was performing great. And if this was all we ever got, you know, for like the next few weeks, that would have been fine. That would have still been a huge win for him at his current stage as an artist. But what happens is the song does great, and it just shoots off in the algorithmic playlist. So I'm going off on a tangent, but I was just super excited when I saw the results today, because I didn't check it all weekend. Kidney Pop. Hey man, can you show some examples of your ads? Yeah, I can. I'll use Be Mine as an example. So Be Mine, I've said this a couple times. This is my my dubstep metal project. Feel free to check it out if you want. But we're running it, and we were super lazy with the video ads. Like, we don't have a video yet. We don't have any kind of content for it. It's just me and Jerry. We're in different states. I have my own releases. He has his own releases, and we haven't gotten to it yet. So what I did is I just got... Let me open these up. I made some of these. Go to the story because it's a vertical format. So all it is it's this. And let me unmute. That's it, right? And then so all I did is I got that, and then let me show you the second one. It's super lazy, by the way. And then the third one. I love how that song came out. I'm so happy with it. But anyways, the point is that's all the ads are. That's it. It's just a picture of the artwork, and just says listen to Spotify. And let me remute this so it doesn't scare me in a couple minutes. But that's it. And for some reason, they're doing well. And usually those type of ads don't perform as well. Usually having your face in them is like the cheapest way. Like with Socialized, I said this a couple times. I set up my phone, and I just recorded with the face camera, just me singing when I was recording. And then later on, I just synced it to the final audio, and that was the best performing video. But with this, I just ran it with the artwork, and it performed very well. And that's the ads. So, and for the Aharak campaign, that's exactly what he did. And I'll show you what that is, because that might kind of give you an extra confirmation that these type of ads can work. So the best performing one was Dead Mouse as a target. And we only had one ad, which is risky, right? Because if that one ad does bad, you're going to have an expensive campaign. In this case, it did very well. That's it. And I didn't make that one. That was made by Aharak, I believe, or maybe it was the Modernized, the other artist on the release. Super simple, right? It's pretty much the same as what I do. He just added some fancy editing that like synced along with the lyrics. And I wasn't expecting a great result from it, but for some reason it just worked. Like usually I say like you want I mean I usually say don't use still artwork and don't do lyric videos. His essentially was a slightly animated artwork with lyrics on it. So and that performed great. So you know, it kind of seems like anything can work. What I recommend is, though, always have multiple options so that you give Facebook enough wiggle room to kind of, you know, actually find something that works. But those are the ads, man. That's it. And it did well. It doesn't always work out well that way, but those ones, it all worked out well. And then Stephen Britton, you asked, do you just do different videos? Yeah. I jumped ahead because I saw your question after the fact. But yeah, that's all I did. Just those different videos. Beast Brody, can I link you an ad I've made for your critiquing? Yeah. Send it. Is it like a social media thing? If it's like social media, yeah. I don't want like a download link. So if you want to DM it to me on Instagram, I'll keep my Instagram open just in case you send it. Yeah, send me a DM, andrew.southworth on Instagram. If you have like a streaming link or like a social media link, send it to me there. And just remind me in chat when you do it, and I'll grab it in my Instagram, and we'll take a look at it here. Justin Nelson. Oh wait, sorry. MA917. Yo, thanks a lot, dude. Honestly, I would like to do a D&B remix of one of your tracks. Oh, cool. I've been meaning to get more stems out there to do another remix competition, or at least let people do more remixes, even if I don't do a competition. So I guess make sure to stay subscribed so that you see that when it happens. But it's just I haven't had the time to put resources behind that. Justin Nelson, for this song Socialize, roughly how much were you putting in per day on ad spend? So I think I started with $20 per day as a start. The song was doing very well, so I bumped it up to $30 a day for a couple days, and then after like 2 weeks I went down to 15 or 10 or something. And then I think the song was doing so well in like Release Radar and Discover Weekly that I kind of kept it going, but I backed off a little bit, and that's why I'm still running ads on the song. And I wish there was a better way to see spending over time on or actually I think I tracked it. I did track it, so I can actually show you this. So this is my manual. I brought this up a whole bunch of times in videos. This is my spreadsheet. Super easy to make. At some point, I'll get like a Google Drive link so that I can just share people this, and they can copy it and make it their own. But so yeah, you can see here I was doing $15 a day, all the way up until here, where I was like, oh, this song's doing good. So I bumped it up to 20, and then here it looks like I was like, oh, this song's still doing good. Okay, I'll do 30, and then 20. And then I didn't record for 10 days, so I guess I was down to 10. So that's kind of the evolution of spend. Usually I won't do something this sporadic. I'll start off at like first 3 days, highest budget I'll ever do in the campaign. The first week, that's the next highest budget I'm doing for the entire campaign. And then it just kind of goes down from there. So it's kind of like this big spike first 3 days, and then spending just kind of goes down over time, which is kind of how I try to do it. Stephen Britton asks, what do your different videos for one song look like? Can you show an example of the different ad types? I think I did a good explanation of that so far. Oh yeah, and you said thanks for answering. Cool, yeah. So that was just showing those multiple ads I did before. If anyone has any further questions on that, I can show you some stuff. These transitions to sharing your screen and not sharing your screen are phenomenal. Yeah. Thanks, man. I've been meaning to make a video on this, but I've been struggling with how to do it, and I'm just haven't had the time with all the other videos I have. But I've said this a couple times on live calls and stuff, but when I chatted with Ruslan, he shared with me his video recording setup that he also uses for stream, and it has changed my freaking life because it saves me hours every time. I'm using OBS to both do all my live streams and all my videos now, and it just saves me so much time because I have a controller here. I can just be like, bam, split screen, bam, base screen, bam. Oh, that one's not working. I didn't have that one set up anymore. But I can have all these multiple camera angles just wired to a physical controller, and it just works. So, yeah. And you can make fancier transitions than I'm doing. I just have a constant fade, but it's handy. Dustin asks, says, hey, enjoying the vids pre-COVID. How involved were you? Oh, okay, I see. In your local music scenes? Not at all. I was a little bit when I was like a teenager. Like I would play shows and stuff, but I'm essentially only online. Not essentially, I am only online. yeah, I do YouTube and I do social media and I do ads and that's it. It's also kind of hard as an electronic musician. Like I did get a DJ tractor set up so I could kind of at least learn if I ever had the opportunity to do something. I would kind of be able to finagle something. And because I've said it before, but you know, opportunity is the combination of luck and preparation, right? An opportunity is just like if you get lucky, it doesn't necessarily mean you can capitalize on it. So it's not an opportunity. If you're prepared but you're not lucky, you don't get an opportunity. So it's only when you have both of those things. So I'm like kind of like, you know, after our world gets back in order and live things are again a possibility, and with my artist account growing and growing, if I ever get a kind of a lucky break to be able to do something, I want to be able to capitalize on that. So that's kind of why I got that thing. And I've also been trying to figure out how I would do a live show if I ever were to get an opportunity like that. I don't know if I even necessarily want to. It's just kind of like making sure that I could if that the time ever arises. Schattenfanger. Hey, you just said hi, so hey. Nylophone. Oh, cool, man. I'm glad you've been digging the content so far. Welcome to the community. Stephen Britton says, seriously, Page has been the best resource for ads. Thanks so much for the incredible free content. Yeah, you good. I'm glad it's been helping out. A lot of people have been saying the same, so it's been dope. On this, and Justin asked, on this track, Miracle, can you estimate the total plays prior to the algorithm hitting it? It's a little blurry on the screen. Yeah, so let me fire that up. Harak. So it came out on this Friday. So it's 54 streams, 99 streams, 222 streams, 180 streams, 185 streams, 200 streams, 330 streams. So, you know, once the Facebook ads ramped up, it was like 200, 250-ish average streams per day before the algorithm picked it up, and then it went to 4,500 streams on Friday, 2,700 streams on Saturday, 1,900 streams on Sunday. And now it's at 10,000 streams. So that's kind of the evolution of it. And we'll see over time how it keeps going. I think I'm going to have a video that I shoot for tomorrow night's release on this. I still haven't filmed and planned what I'm going to upload tomorrow. But this week, I'm actually doing 3 videos this week because I wanted to get some specific stuff out. Tomorrow, it's going to be either this campaign or a different campaign showing the Facebook ads and stuff. And then on Wednesday, I have an interview for part of my podcast series where I talked to this rapper who, on Wednesday it's coming out, he makes a full-time living off of just Spotify and Apple Music streams. So I wanted to get that out because that conversation was fantastic. And then Friday it's going to be another, I don't know if I'm going to do a different video or another Facebook ad video. It'll be music marketing regardless, but it might be, I might show my video recording setup because that's come up a lot and I know it could help people out. Where did I lost my place? Skelly Bones. Hey man, how's it going? I've been using IG story ads pretty effectively for about a month now. One thing I've noticed is a slight steady gain in my other social media as well. Yeah, and that's a cool side effect of Facebook ads and Instagram ads is that you're running them on your social media account. So what happens as a side effect is that your social media accounts grow too. Now it's not like super substantial over time, like compared to like having organic content like really shoot off, but it's still steady and it's just a nice side effect that really does like make a difference. Like if you can gain, like let's say you have like 1,200 followers on Instagram and then you don't post much, but you're running these ads all the time, like you can grow up to like over the course of a year at like 1,000 followers on your Instagram account by posting almost nothing, but just because you're running so many ads through the Instagram account, it does well. At least that's my experience. Real Carrera. Andrew, you're a beast, bro. Keep it up. Thanks, man. I'll try. Nylophone. Say, for example, I'm typing in Spotify in the name of an artist to find my target audience. When I release my next single, should I target the same people? I target every song as a new thing to a degree. And let me actually show this because I think it's a good example. I'll use my song Dreaming. Now this campaign is kind of a nightmare to look at, but I'll show it anyways. This campaign here is my song Dreaming. And there's a whole bunch of ad sets that are off. and there's only 2 that are on. So what I did is I had all these new targets, and I was testing out a lot of things. So that's why there's so many. But I targeted the Chainsmokers. I targeted Bass Nectar and Skrillex. I targeted Flume and Flux Pavilion. I targeted just large states in like the United States and Australia. I targeted dance with targeting expansion on. I targeted dance with targeting expansion off. I targeted a lookalike audience just in Brazil. I targeted Post Malone. I targeted 7 Lions, and I tested running on multiple placements other than stories. And then I did a retargeting. So retargeting is when I retarget people who clicked in the past on one of my songs. And this was the best. This was a pretty expensive campaign, but this was one of the best source of results for me for this song, the retargeting. And that's usually the case. Retargeting usually is cheaper than average, just because these people already know who you are. They've already shown they're going to click. Now, that's not to say that I'm retargeting the same thing. This was my song Dreaming. This is my song Socialize. I was targeting Linkin Park and Post Malone and Hollywood Undead. Completely different from Dreaming. This song was like electronic music meets hip-hop meets rock. Dreaming is future bass. So completely different target. And I treated them as separate things. I tried targeting Post Malone in that song just to see if it would do well, and it didn't. So, yeah. So you don't have to target the same people. And you said you can retarget, but if you're looking for new followers, you don't have to type in the same people every time if the song is different. If the song is the same and the previous targeting worked, like do it. But if the song is different, I wouldn't target the same audience, because they're going to be new people. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to like the song just because people in the audience liked your previous song if they're super different. So keep that in mind. Derek Moss, where do you make these video edits? All those, I'm guessing you mean for the ads. For all the ads, I make them in Premiere Pro, which is in an Adobe. It's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud. I have the Adobe Creative Cloud. Super expensive solution, but for someone like me, it's pretty much the only option. And it's for me, honestly, it's well worth the price. Like, it costs $60 a month, which is kind of nuts, but it gives you Premiere Pro, it gives you After Effects, it gives you Photoshop, it gives you Lightroom, it gives you Illustrator, and it gives you a whole bunch of other stuff you'll never use. But for me, it's well worth it. Like, it's $60 a month for all that stuff, but if you factor in the account that like my YouTube channel brings in many times that, it's completely worth it. And for most businesses that will use it, the assumption is you're making significantly more than $60 a month, right? So, but for an independent artist that's maybe just starting, or if you're young, maybe you're in college, or maybe you're even younger, it might be completely out of the question. So if that's the case for you, there's a couple other options. One other option is use iMovie if you're on a Mac. It's free, and it works pretty good. It's limited. It gets the job done. You can easily make the type of ads I make in iMovie. Option number 2, which is also free to an extent, which is Davinci Resolve. Davinci Resolve. It's actually one of the best color grading softwares out there, and there's a free version, and it's pretty damn good. They do have a paid version, but instead of paying $60 a month forever, like I've had Adobe Creative Cloud for like a couple of years now, so I've given them a couple $1,000 basically. But for Davinci Resolve, it's like $300 one-time fee. And that essentially gives you... So the free version is kind of like Premiere Pro. Some restrictions, but you can get the job done. The paid version, it's like Premiere Pro with After Effects with a small audio editing software attached to it. So those are kind of your options if Premiere Pro is just not in your budget at all. Scrubs Game asked, do you put link to this? Do you put a link to the Spotify song then? If so, where in Facebook? No. So I actually use, and I recommend checking out my Spotify algorithm hack video where I show my most recent Facebook ad campaign. What I do is I use something called a Hyped It landing page. So I don't send people direct to Spotify, because what happens is when you send people direct using a link campaign, you'll notice a ton of drop off, like 80-90% drop off. So I send people to this type of page. So when they click the link inside of the website URL, inside of the ad, I add a Hyped It link. And then it brings people to these places where they can go to Spotify or they can go to Apple Music. And that allows me to use a conversion campaign instead of a link click campaign. Never use a link click traffic campaign. And I made a video last week explaining why. So I won't get into it too much here. But basically, link click campaigns fail super often, whereas conversion campaigns don't. So that's why I use a landing page and not the direct Spotify URL. Desi Meiji. Hey Andrew, is 25 pence? I'm guessing that's pence. I don't. What is a conversion? Is pence? Pence. Pence 2 cents. So I know. Yeah. So okay, that's essentially the penny. So it's GBX. So that's British, right? British to US dollars. So one pound sterling. Okay, so it's 25% more expensive than the US dollar. So, well, I'll just talk that. So, anyways, is 25 pence per save and 6 cents per stream good? Yes, very good. 6 cents per stream is very, very, very good. Incredibly good, actually. That's better than. That's about as equal to the best campaign I've ever run for this type of thing. And it wasn't my music; it was a hip hop artist music. Now, if it's actually per stream, like you're saying that you spend some money on Facebook ads and you look in Spotify for artists and calculate the number of streams, that's the value you get. Now, for that number, I'm assuming that it's the upfront value, because once the algorithmic playlists kick in, it can get much, much cheaper than that. And I'll show you how that works. So this is my song Socialize. You can see cost per stream, like, actually, I think I was wrong before. 6 pence per stream is good up to an extent. So you can see here, at first it cost 11 cents per stream. Lots of money. 7 cents per stream after the next day, then 5, then 4, then 3.5, then 3, then 3, then 2, then 1, and then we're down to half a penny per stream, which you start getting into the region of like, oh, it's actually about the same price to pay for the streams as it is to that you make back from the streams, right? And that's kind of the end goal, of course, but I don't usually expect it to happen like right away. Usually I would say long term you want these songs to pay off. You won't expect them to pay off during a campaign, but they can. And to kind of show you what dreaming is, it's you know, you can see I ran a ton of money in this campaign because I wanted to see what I could do with it. And the song is doing very well, but it was a very expensive campaign. I'll just say that. It's $700. But it's down to about 3.5 cents per stream, and I haven't tracked it in a couple days. I haven't typed it in for the last 4 days. So if I go back to Dreaming campaign, we're at 22,000 streams. And so if I punch that in, and I'll change this later. I think I'm at $690. So if I do this, it's continually dropping, right? So it's about 3 cents per stream. And long term, I would expect it to actually pay itself off, but in the short term, it's definitely not. Whereas Socialized, essentially, it's already kind of paid itself off. But yeah, so 6 cents per stream is good, but if it's like post algorithmic playlist, then it's kind of expensive. So it's tricky, but I hope that my example kind of showed you how that works out. Nylophone, it's 4:30 a.m. in Ireland where I am, and I'm staying over. Awesome, yeah. I usually stream earlier, and it's usually the music review stream, but I fell asleep. I took a nap, and it ended up turning into just straight up sleeping. Scrubs Game asks, what do you think about re-releasing songs to try and get on Discover Weekly? I wouldn't do that. Not straight up re-releasing. So especially if you use the same IRC codes, you don't even qualify for release radar anymore. If it's like a remaster or a remix, then I think you can use a new ISRC code, and then you can get back on release radar, and then maybe you can redo your campaign again. But I would say just unless it's a song that you really believe in. But even then, like, I don't know. I'm kind of the belief that your new songs are always going to be better than your old songs. And if it's not the case, you should be working on your stuff more. In general, your new stuff should be the best music you're releasing. You might have some hits and misses, but the new stuff should always be better. So I'd say don't focus on that. unless you had like a rare circumstance where you had a banger release and you really screwed up the release. But you could, but keep that in mind that if you're using the same ISRC codes, it doesn't qualify for Release Radar again. And yeah, an old song can still go on Discover Weekly. I've had people hit me up and say, like, I had a song that I dropped a year ago, and for some reason it got added to Discover Weekly last week, and now it's getting thousands of streams. So that's another reason why I say don't delete your music, because it kind of just, it never goes away. Like, it might not be new and relevant and exciting anymore, but songs are new as long as it's the first time anyone's heard it. Like, if I've never heard you before and I hear you put out a song and then I find out you have 5 albums of previous material, all that music is new to me. So yeah, I went off on a tangent there, but Skate Alex asked, do you offer running campaigns for people as a service? I kind of do, and I kind of like, yes, I do it. I don't advertise it, and I don't have a public number. And I don't always take on everyone, and I'm bad at replying to everyone, because I keep getting hit up to do it. I just don't have the time to do it as much as I want to with everything I have going on. If you want to, in the description of this video, there's an email address where you can hit me up for that. Just to kind of give you a rough value to expect, it'll cost you anywhere on a per song campaign basis, anywhere between like $150 to $200 to do that. So it could be a little less, could be a little more. It depends what you want to do. So just to kind of forewarn you that that's what it is. And I'm kind of constantly raising my prices as I realize how much time it takes. So that's one reason why it might be better to either like take my course, or probably take my course. It's probably the best option in terms of price, if you can do it yourself. But if you have the money, you could technically hire me. So hit me up in email if you want to do that. If anyone's interested in that course, by the way, it's not quite through beta. It's almost done through beta. And I'll drop a link in the chat if anyone's interested. Like, no pressure. It doesn't change anything I do in this channel, but it's kind of like a step-by-step guide through all the steps involved in ads that, like, some people can just go with my YouTube videos and just take off and get fantastic results. Other people keep getting hung up on these little details, and that's what, like, the course is for, right? It also is a Facebook community, and once the community builds up a little more, I'm going to be doing live streams. But yeah, that's the course. And before anyone buys that, there is, if you're already in my Patreon community, there is a discount code inside of the Patreon community, or not a discount code, it's a separate link. I haven't released that yet in the Patreon community. But if it's like $10 off or something. So if it's kind of like to offset the cost of being a Patreon supporter. But anyways, that's the course. If you're interested in it, check it out. Johnny Opus asks, when running ads, is the goal to earn money from the streams, or is it more for exposure? Yes. It's more for exposure. And long term, yes, the goal is to make more money than you spend on your ads. But it's really upfront more for exposure. And the reason is, it's just that streaming pays so little. And you really only make your money back if you hit these algorithmic playlists. And that doesn't happen right away. And songs kind of keep rolling on for a long time. Socialize, I spent like $350 on ads, and it's just getting to the point where it's starting to be almost fully, like, it's made me back the money that I spent on it. And it still continues to get, let me actually show you, it's at 70,000 streams, and it still gets, Sunday was a bad day, but 500 to 800 streams per day. So, it's making, what is it? It's like 0.4 to 0.6 cents per stream. So 1,000 streams is like $5. So it makes like $2.50 a day, maybe a little more, maybe like $2, maybe let's just say $3 or something per day. So every day it does that. If it keeps doing that for a year, then it's made me way more money than I spent on the ads. If it tapers down to nothing, and eventually it might flop. But it's about at the point where it's kind of paying itself off. And so if you do this song after song, what happens is you kind of like, your following keeps inching up every song. So even if like you drop your first song, you run an ad campaign, you spend $300 and you only make back 50. Okay. Count your losses, move on to the next song. You still grew your audience and you still got a bunch of results in your song. You're building your fan base. So next song, maybe it's a month later. Maybe you spend $300 on a single, and now you can retarget all those previous people, and you have all those free followers that you gained from the last one. So you kind of inch yourself up a little bit. If you do that over the course of a year, yes, you're running these ads for exposure. Yes, you should assume that you're not going to make your money back, but over time, it kind of, each song just kind of feeds back on itself, and songs can keep getting streams long after you do that. The best way, or I shouldn't say the best way, the most effective way to make money off of music is to retarget those people and sell them something. So like sell them a physical CD. CDs are kind of blah, but you know, CDs. Sell them a T-shirt. Sell them something cool. Like I don't know, if you're a very crafty person, maybe you make wood carvings or something. I don't know. Maybe you have your music relates that in some cool way, and you sell them a $50 wood carving you made, or maybe you have a 3D printer and you come up with a cool 3D model that represents your brand, and you sell them that. There's a million ways, right? But that's really how you make your money the fastest and the most. That being said, on Wednesday, I'm dropping a hour-long video with a rapper who makes a full-time living off of just Spotify and Apple Music. So he did it, and I'm starting to learn that it's totally possible to do that, and he does it. So I know that was a long answer to your question, but that's my answer. I lost my place. Oh, there we go. Dave Marks, would it be possible to expand your ad strategy to only pay for your ads when people follow your Spotify page? No, not really. You could do a download gate, which means that like on Hyped It, for example, they have a download gate service. So does Tone Deaf. What you could do is that, so you won't, with the conversion campaigns, you don't pay when a conversion happens. It'll show you like you're paying, 10 cents per conversion or 20 cents per conversion, whatever it says, but you're really paying for impressions. So there's no way to set it up where you only pay when someone follows, but you can have it so that your conversion fires when someone follows. But download gates are super expensive, and you'll pay a lot more per follower using a download gate than you will just sending people to a song using a landing page. So like on a download gate, you might spend $2 to $3 per follower. Maybe you can get it down to 80 cents per follower. Whoop-de-doo, right? If you send people to a landing page and then to your song or profile, you're kind of already in that ballpark. And then if you use a service like Tone Deaf, or use a deep link software, or even a landing page, you can get that down further. So download gates, you kind of can do it, but I would not recommend it. Download gates they're not the way to go. I do not advise anyone using download gates in an ad. In like to your audience, yeah, you can totally use download gate, but in an ad, I would say no. I wish that was the case, that you could only pay when people follow your page, because then it's like it'd be great, right? Solo Hits, I love the content, bro. Thanks, man. I'm glad you dig it. I've seen you several times in comments and stuff. Dave Marks, the one you explained with the pixel making sure people. So with the conversions, like you're when I run a landing page thing, like the conversion is someone swipes up in my ad or clicks in the ad, and then they go to a landing page, and then on that page they click Spotify or Apple Music, and that triggers the conversion. There's no way to tell that they actually streamed. You can there's no way to tell on Facebook ads that they actually streamed. You'll see the streams in Spotify for Artists, and you want to make sure when you run the ads that you see all those streams coming in Spotify for Artists. You should see like 80-90% of all the conversions you get resulting in streams. And then if they're not, you have a problem and you need to go fix it. But there's no way to actually tell, there's no way to integrate Facebook ads and Spotify in that kind of way. Dunkin' Donuts, the coffee of my people. I'm from New England. What is a good cost per stream you consider a good campaign? Or when do you know a song has had enough streams without keep running? There's a couple of typos in this. I'm just trying to read it. Without keep running. I would say, so the general cost per stream value that I've said a couple times is anywhere between 10 cents and 40 cents is standard per conversion. And so again, that conversion is someone clicks your ad, they go to a landing page, and they click on Spotify or Apple Music to go to those platforms. That triggers their conversion. You should expect, on average, between 10 cents and 30 to 40 cents per conversion. Sometimes it's higher, and you need to work in pushing it back down. And sometimes it's lower, which is fantastic. But that's kind of the average that I've seen across a handful of my own music, bands' music, other artists that I've run ads for, people that I know that have helped with ads. Like, that's kind of the standard value, like a whole bunch of different types of music. People that have watched my channel who tell me their numbers, people who are in my course in the Facebook group that tell me their numbers. That's kind of the rough value. So if you're getting 9 cents per conversion, then that's great. And I would keep running the ads because that's a super great result. Now, you might, like, over time, you might put down the budget because you just don't have enough money to feed it forever. But like, that's a great result, and you should keep doing that. Just make sure that all those numbers are coming in on Spotify for artists so that you know their conversions are resulting in streams. But that's a fantastic number. So good job. Oh, and you're saying total streams, total cost. Oh, so that's not cost per conversion. That's like cost per stream. So that's a little high. I think I said earlier that pre-algorithm. Well, that's it's okay. It's expected. I look at my song Dreaming, and before it hit the algorithm, it was getting like 10 to 8 cents per stream, and then once it hits the algorithm, it kind of plummets down. With my song Socialize, again, it ran super well. It started off at like 10, then went down to 7, 5, 4, 3 cents per stream, and then it hit the algorithm and just shot down to less than a penny per stream. So 9 cents per stream, it's like pretty good. Not great, not bad, but like expected. It looks like. Just make sure your cost per conversion is keeping in par. Seji Sample. Hey Andrew, you mentioned that link click ads aren't preferred to conversion ads. Can you explain to set up our conversion event? This is tricky to do in a one size fits all thing, which is why I've never covered it. I get this question a ton on my YouTube channel. And it's tricky to do because it just really depends on what you're using. And so for that reason, I've always kept it in my course, my Facebook ads course. So in general, I will show you a little bit of that process, but I don't want to get in the weeds in it. If you want that kind of detailed information on how I do it, it's in the course that I linked in the chat, which if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see that I dropped a link in the chat. Let me show you roughly how you do it. So in general, depending on what you're using, you go to the Events Manager. And inside of here, you'll see I have Hyped It, Smart Link Fit, and Page View, and View Content, and make sure you check out, purchase, bleed, blah, blah, blah. And so in some cases, you don't have to do anything. Like, if you can already utilize this View Content one, you don't have to do anything in terms of setup. You just select View Content if that's a conversion that fires. But what you have to do is you have to go into this Test Events page or use like this Pixel Helper tool, and you need to see what events are firing from whatever you're using. And what you do is you drop your link in here, and you'll see that, like, I don't know, what is a good example for me to use? Let me grab one of my links here. So this is my, I'll do this, open website. This is my podcast, Modern Music Marketing. By the way, if you have listened to my podcast or you haven't, well, if you haven't, go check it out. I'll drop another link in the chat. If you haven't checked out that podcast, check it out. But if you have and you like it or you like my content, I would appreciate it so much if you go to Apple Podcast and give it like either a rating or a review, because apparently that's super important in the first month or two after a podcast launches. So I'm trying to do as much as I can to promote the podcast because I want it to do well long term. But anyways, that's besides the point. So I put that in Test Events. You see here it fired a page view. Now if I click and go to Apple Podcasts, like all of you, I'm assuming, will, to rate my podcast. Oh, we got 2 ratings. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Whoever did that. We appreciate it. Because here it fired a view content thing. So for using a tone dead one, just use the view content conversion. You don't have to set up anything. But if whatever you're using, it's going to differ. You want to put it in test events and figure it out. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I've never gone into detail on how I set it up. It's always different, and it's kind of a pain for some services. And so in my course that I linked, if you scroll up, I don't want to spam the chat with my links, but if you look in my course, there's a whole video on setting up hyptic conversions. There's a whole video on setting tone-in conversions. And over time, when people start saying, like, hey, I use this, I'll start adding more and more, like, tools to show how people can set it up in the course. But, yeah. So let's see. Hold on, I'm losing my place here. Scrubs, you got it, man. Glad you're enjoying the content. Skate Alex, cool. Desi Meiji, thank you, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to get back. Yeah, you got it. Kidney Pop, you have the good work, man. Thanks, man. The Sun Collective, have you tried Google Ads? Yeah, I've tried Google Ads. I haven't tried it for promoting my music. So I have tried it in the past trying to promote Genera Studios products. So if you don't know, Genera Studios is my company where it's kind of the face of a lot of different things that I do, where I don't want to put my explicit name on it, because releasing music as an artist and having all these side hustles, like, they don't always kind of correlate, and I haven't done the best job of segregating stuff. But anyways, I've used it to promote Genera Studios because I sell sample packs and contact libraries and a few other things. But I've used it for that. In general, every time I've used Google Ads and YouTube Ads, it's more expensive than Facebook ads. So back when I was doing this, I wasn't as experienced with running ads and marketing and branding and everything, but that was my findings then. And this was like 2 years ago or something. So take that with a grain of salt. I want to explore it more further. I have a big list of things to go test, and I'm already spending like $70 a day on ads testing stuff right now. That's kind of the beauty of being in the position I'm in, is that I can test a lot of stuff. Because it makes good video content, and I have a lot of different things that make money that I can run ads on to test. So, anyways, at some point I'll be testing Google Ads again. Beast Brody, you sent me the link on Instagram DMs for critiquing. Cool. Let me fire that up. By the way, if anyone has sent me any Instagram DMs and I haven't replied, I apologize. I just have too many things. Sorry, I'm just reading as I do this. All right, Beast Brody. Copy. Wonderful thing about having a Mac, you can copy and paste on your iPhone, or you can copy on your iPhone and paste on your Mac. Freaking love that feature. So convenient for stuff like this. So this is Beast Brody. Cool. This is just funny. Are you tired of listening to Hot Dumpster Trash? Okay. Let me make sure the audio's on. I can tell this is going to be funny. I hope that there's nothing non-advertiser friendly in this.
Hi, I'm Beast Brody. And that shit. We need more energy. Welcome to BTV Cribs. If you're sick and tired of listening to Hot Dumpster Trash, then you've came to the right place. If you're looking to switch up your daily playlist, then I'm your man. Now, I'm not going to ramble on like half of these f***ers that make advertisements out there, but here's a sample of some of my songs. If you guys like them, feel free to click the links down below and check out my Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, whatever you want.
I should have known I could not fight this on my own. Tired eyes, but fireflies and stars will fill the night sky. This is my time on this shit, Sin City, no really. I've been trying the edges of this rope, shit's dope. Wrote a page, Memorial X Notes, Expo. I be walking down the aisle, getting greeted like the Pope, like I'm flying down from outer space.
Honestly, I think like all the talking stuff, it's a brilliant idea, because it does have that kind of interruption method where someone's scrolling, right, and you're doing a pattern interrupt. You're like how you're tired of listening to Hot Dumpster Trash, and you have all these muted swears and stuff. I think it's a creative idea that might work. Now, what I would advise doing is doing a test comparing that to just like running placement ads on just like these music video clips on stuff like this, and see how it compares. I think ads like this would work very well as a video views campaign where you're trying to pre-qualify your leads and try to find... Like when I did that call with Circa, he talks about low-hanging fruit. And he's just running video view ads. He's just talking to people in DMs. He's just like having conversations. And I think this type of video is great for that. I don't know how it's going to compare long-term with sending traffic to Spotify. But it's super creative, honestly. And it's funny. So I think it could work. I think it's worth a shot, honestly. Like if I might try something like this, but I don't know if I'm confident enough to go in front of a bunch of people's news feed and say, "Are you tired of listening to Hot Dumpster Trash?" Because what could happen, just to warn you, is that you're gonna get a bunch of comments, most likely, of people being like super mean because you're kind of popping in their feed and you're saying, you know, you're really being confident. You're putting yourself on a limb. You're saying, "Are you tired of listening to Hot Dumpster Trash?" So if anyone listens to that and thinks that your music is Hot Dumpster Trash, they're gonna trash the hell out of you, right? So you might find that you're going to get a bunch of negative comments on these ads, and you're going to have to come up with a strategy to deal with it. Are you going to be super sarcastic in your comments? Are you going to kill people with kindness, so to speak? Or are you going to fight back? And there's different merits to doing everything. So just to kind of give you a warning. Hold on, I'm just scrolling down to read what Beast Brody said. Yeah. Mr. Beast is fire. I followed you, Beast Brody. Okay, awesome. But yeah, I think it's a cool strategy. It's a cool idea. Okay, I left off Johnny Opus. Awesome. I figured as much, but I wanted to make sure I'm not doing something by losing money up front. I don't remember what your question was. Oh yeah, earning money or exposure. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's more exposure, but it's like long term, like it can make money, and I think it's the cumulative effect of like growth over time. You do have to be willing to take a loss up front though with a lot of these ads, and that's true with the Spotify ads, but that's also true with selling merch. Like you're gonna have losses up front. That's really getting into any business, is you're gonna have losses up front. I won't get off on that tangent, but yeah. XNDR, you're blowing my mind. Awesome, man. Desi Meiji, you're the man. Thanks, man. Just one last question. I'm either getting all my clicks from Facebook or IG, never both. Do you know why this would be? It says it's being delivered to both. It could be the case that one is consistently always performing better, and that Facebook just kind of pushes money to that. Let me actually look at mine and see how that compares inside Facebook ads, and I'll use a live campaign. Let me just filter here. So Facebook ads, again, if anyone doesn't know, you go to breakdown by delivery platform. Facebook, Instagram. So for me, it's actually pretty equal, but Facebook's running a lot cheaper. Now if I go to placement, you can see, and I'm going to have a video on this soon, but I wanted to make sure I get it out to my course people first and my Patreon supporters first, but just like a less edited video. Because YouTube, if anyone doesn't know, like I edit things much more thoroughly for YouTube than I do for the course and Patreon people, because like with the Patreon and the course people, I want to provide as much information as possible. With the YouTube thing, more information does not equal more video views. In fact, it's usually the opposite. Like you want to have dense information that continues for long periods of time. So it's a lot more work to get a YouTube video out than it is to make content for the course and the videos, because if I ramble on for a topic for 5 minutes on YouTube, that will not perform well. But the people in the course, they want all that nitty-gritty detail because it's valuable. So, sorry, I just rambled again. Just like that, you lose 8 live stream viewers. No, I'm just kidding. But this is the platform. So I'm testing out using platforms other than stories. And you can see here that Facebook, Instagram, so Instagram feed is winning by number of results. But Facebook feed is actually performing the best, and it's still getting a lot. So I'm not seeing that currently, but I have seen that in the past, where a campaign will get a disproportionate amount in usually Instagram stories, because it usually is the cheapest. But I have seen ones where it's cheapest in Facebook stories and then it feeds more budget into it. But there's less people on Facebook stories. It's not an easy thing to answer, honestly. Jay Sansi? What was your question? Should damn, that hurts. I'm out. I don't see any I don't see your question. Maybe it got flagged as spam or something, but you left. So sorry I missed your question. But if you left the question there, I would have seen it. Dave Marks, you're a legend. Thanks for the detailed answer. You got it, man. Scrubs Games. This is a good question. Do you recommend only putting Spotify and Apple Music on a landing page, or add Deezer, YouTube, etc.? And I only do Spotify and Apple Music, and you can see that here. And the reason is because I don't want to give people decision fatigue. In my ads, I'm specifically targeting Spotify and Apple Music people, so I use them there. I don't put anything else there, because if I put YouTube in, you're going to find a lot of people who, even if they have one of these platforms, they're going to go to YouTube. And I don't want them to go to YouTube. I want them to go to one of these platforms. So, and same thing for like Deezer. Like, do you really care? Like, if you start adding all these other platforms, you kind of dilute the effectiveness of your ads. Because instead of putting all your budget into like Spotify, you're putting it across 3 platforms. Which means if you want the same result in Spotify, you better triple your budget. Essentially, right? Because you know, you're not focusing your advertising dollars as effectively. So in general, what I do is I'll make several of these landing pages. So I'll have one for Spotify and one for Apple Music. On both of the Spotify and Apple Music ones, I have both of these. But on the Apple Music one, I put it first because I'm prioritizing Apple Music. On the Spotify one, this is what I have. But then I make a third one in many cases that has like all the links, and I'll put that on my social media pages. Because on the social media ones, I don't know where people are coming from. I'm not targeting them. So I just put everything in there and let people decide. And there's nothing wrong with making 3 of these pages. It's just more, it's kind of like annoying in terms of you having your hyped it page feed thing, but it doesn't really cost you anything. So that's why I do that. Bedroom Galaxy, this guy should start a metal band. He screams better than marketing. Thanks, dude. I think thanks. Bedroom Galaxy, I don't see a question. I don't know. So I've had this issues in other live streams too, where things get flagged as spam, even if they're not spam. And I like maybe there's a link or something. I don't know if you dropped a link in there or whatever, but I've had things where stuff gets flagged as spam. So maybe that's what happened to both you and also Jay Sansi. But yeah, thanks you like that song. I do scream in metal bands. So I'm also in day 4. If anyone's interested, I don't know if anyone is, but so Murder Night is my project with my friend Jerry. It's kind of dubstep metal. Of course, being slow, but I'm also the vocalist in day 4. You can see that's me there. There's a rapper in the group too, but I'm kind of like the singing vocalist. We put out an album last year, and I've been kind of struggling to record vocals for some of the new stuff, but we're working on new stuff. I don't know when it'll come out, but we're working on new stuff. So yeah, I am a vocalist in a few rock and metal bands. YTH, you really help a ton of artists, Andrew. Thanks for helping the videos. Thanks, man. I'm glad it's been helping you out. And then YTH also says, seriously, if you have enough money in Facebook ads, you are going to get heard one day. Yeah, that's one perspective, and I don't think it's wrong. Like if you have quality music and you market it and put budget behind it consistently over time, like I think it's. I had a call with Outlook the rapper last week, and he was just like, it's just math, you know, like if 1% of everyone that hears your music becomes a fan, and you put ads in it, and over the course of years, a couple million people hear your music, 1% of a million people is a lot. That's enough to build a music career. So it's a true perspective to have. Like, you have enough money, or you get enough people to see your stuff through social media ads and whatever, or anything else you do, you're gonna get heard one day. Beast Brody commenting, I'm super good with trash talk. I go super sarcastic, but thank you. I'll have to compare my song to a song. Yeah, it's all about A/B testing. Like, you might find it does phenomenally well, and you try that with every single new song you do. You might find it performs badly, and then that's cool. That's a good number to have. That's a good result to have, because that means you know in the future to do something different. Yeah, if you're as a small musician, it's good to kind of take these kind of risks, I think, as you said. I got like a floof. There we go. The Sun Collective says, just listening to your podcast, you should tell Indepreneur how to avoid bats. I don't think they know I asked them. So Indepreneur, if you don't know who Indepreneur is, they're a great, I don't know the best way to describe them, but they're a music marketing education company. So they have a bunch of courses on music marketing, specifically with Facebook ads, and they're great. Circa's a great guy. I had him on my channel. I put that out as a podcast episode, and they have fantastic content. But I did make a video or a podcast exclusive post episode, whatever you want to call it, last week, where I talked about. Well, let me see if I can just show you. This is my show on Apple Podcasts, and you can see here I had an episode called Bots, Click Farms, and Country Targets and Facebook Ads for Music. And in this episode, I talk about exactly that. I talk about how my perspective around avoiding bots and Facebook ads, because bots are a significant problem in Facebook ads. And what I say is that by using conversion ads, you are kind of putting your stuff outside of the realm of bots, because typically every time I've researched Facebook bots and how they work is that they're always integrated to work with some kind of API. They have to be coded to work on a certain website. So meaning that you can have Spotify bots that are made to integrate with the Spotify platform. You can have Facebook bots that are integrated with the Facebook platform. But like, how do they jump from Facebook to Spotify? Typically they can't. And like they're not designed to target musicians and do that. Maybe some are, but they're really, for the most part, not designed. They're designed to overthrow United States elections, right? Like, that's one reason. Another reason is to target a specific company by clicking all their ads and driving up their budget, or reducing the effectiveness of their ads. But they're not going to be just like broadly integrating all these services and stuff, because that's just a waste of time and energy and bot CPU time. So you're trying to avoid those, just the general click bots, because bots will click on stuff. But what Facebook does, if you're running a conversion campaign, what happens is when someone converts, that tells Facebook, cool, that's the type of person we want. Let's go find more of those people. So bots really can't trigger that, because they'd have to be wired or programmed to integrate with a Facebook API. And in my case, because I'm using Hyped It landing pages, the Hyped It landing page API. So I'd have to have like a web crawling functionality and integrate with the Facebook API. And then on top of that, even if a bot managed to integrate both of those things, for them to also trigger streams on Spotify, they would have to be integrated with the Spotify API. So you have all these moving parts. It doesn't work. Like, it's too complicated. It's not going to happen where a bot gets from Facebook, goes to your landing page, triggers the conversion, goes to Spotify, streams and saves your song. It's not going to happen. So what my kind of theory behind that is, by using the conversion campaigns, you're pretty much excluding bots for the most part. There's still going to be bots that view your video and click your link, but they're not going to convert, and Facebook's going to weed them out over time. Now, what someone said is that, I lost my place. Tell Indepreneur, I don't think they know I asked them. So Indepreneur talked a lot about bots, and I think they have a good perspective on it, but I don't necessarily agree with like their whole perspective on it. Circa thinks it's a little bit too presumptuous to assume that we know how bots work. I don't take that approach. I think you can very reasonably assume that that's how bots work. And I have a technical background. Like, I'm not like a web developer or something, but I'm an engineer and I know how to program to a degree. And it just seems too unlikely that bots can integrate all those things. However, when you're trying to sell stuff and you're running video view ads to retarget people, which they do is a core part of how they advertise, then it starts to make a lot more sense why they target green light countries and why they do what they do. Because pretty much any type of bot is going to be able to watch a video. So if you're using video views as the kind of core part of trying to like retarget people who watch a big part of your video, like if you're targeting bots, that's a huge risk. So for them, I think the whole green light countries thing makes a lot of sense. So my point being is that I don't necessarily agree 100% on everything Indepreneurs said about the bots, but they have a very good reason for why they do it. And I think that they also don't want to like send their customers down a rabbit hole and risk having them target bots. So there's a couple factors, but I think they're on the right, they're doing the right things. So, and Circa's a great dude, and they're a great company. So I want to make sure I don't come across as saying that anything bad about them, because they're great. See you, Bedroom Galaxy. Have a good night. Can you talk about running, Justin Nelson, can you talk about running campaigns to non-green light countries? Is bot spammy traffic concern? So, good timing, because that's exactly what I was just talking about. So, I typically run to every Spotify country, because since I'm running my campaigns in that way. And again, if you want to hear my podcast episode, I dropped a link. It's if you go to your podcast platform on Spotify or Apple Music, Modern Music Marketing is my podcast, and you can listen to that episode if you want. It's only like 10 minutes long, but it's a more thought out thing than what I'm rambling about now. But I target all Spotify countries, and I feel safe doing that because I'm using a landing page conversion. Like, to me, it's astronomically unlikely that a bot's going to be able to watch my video, click my link, go into my Hyped It page, trigger my conversion, go to Spotify, and result in a stream. Like, it's not going to happen. And that's why when I see all my data, I look at it, I don't think like, what percentage of this is bots? Because it's like there's no way that that's going to happen. It'd be so complicated to set that up just to target music people who are such an insignificant fraction of marketing dollars spent on Facebook. But the key for me is using that conversion event. And if you're running raw link clicks, that's why link click campaigns can fail so often, is because they get hit by bots, essentially. There's nothing protecting them from bots. So what I do is I use those conversion campaigns to essentially isolate myself from the bots, pretty much, and let Facebook optimize over time to figure out what converts. And another thing on Indepreneur, they have their Creative Juice podcast, which is a fantastic podcast, by the way, with Corinne and Jack, who are also part of the Indepreneur team. And they talk about how sales conversions are pretty much safe from bots because of the way that pixel and conversion events are in there. So that kind of also shows that they do consider the conversion events can kind of shield you from bots in certain applications. So, but that's really it. Use conversion campaigns to non-green light. Really use it to all countries, but specifically with non-green light countries, like what Indepreneur talks about, don't use a link click campaign because it will flop and it'll be susceptible to bot traffic, accidental clickers, and people who are not that committed in the first place. The Sun Collective, is the landing page on your website or any smart URL? Essentially any smart URL. And I use Hyped It, but what did I do? Oh, here we go. I use Hyped It, but you can also use ToneDen. So this, like, I'm using ToneDen here. They have a podcast version of their landing pages, but they have a similar thing for music too. So you can either use ToneDen or you can use Hyped It. And there's other services. There's Linkfire. You could technically use Linktree if you wanted to. You could use like BioFM. You could use a bunch of things. I use Hyped It, and I'm starting to use ToneDen more and more because people have been saying they want a free version, so I'm testing it out more. You could use your website too. But the thing is, you want to be able, if you don't know how to code, don't use your website because you're going to have to do some custom integrations. Like, for example, when you're coding a website, there's like a button HTML parameter, right? And you can attach like JavaScript things to buttons. I don't want to get into the weeds in this, but you can attach like code to fire when someone clicks a button. So you would custom code a website that just has like a column using whatever HTML framework you want to use, like Bootstrap, whatever. You have like a column down the center with a bunch of links and with a picture in the center top, And what happens is you could say that when someone lands on the page, they just fire a normal page view. When someone clicks that button, we're going to fire in this extra code using like JavaScript or whatever. And that's going to fire a custom like pixel thing, because Facebook will tell you how to set up these custom conversion events. And so basically, just when people click that link, you're going to fire this custom pixel code, and that's going to tell Facebook to do it. There isn't going to be a great way to do that by default on a website, like on Squarespace or whatever. I doubt they're going to give you a way to do that, or Wix or whatever. So only do it on your own website if you're comfortable diving into the code and customizing stuff. Personally, I would feel comfortable doing that, but I know like most musicians are not savvy enough with code, and they don't even want to learn code. So I would just use ToneDen if you don't want to pay for anything, and if you're willing to pay, then use Hyped. YTH, usually a song's advertising life cycles around a month. Yeah, that sounds decent. Like, I usually, like, the week before a song comes out, I might run some video view campaigns, or a video view campaign on it, just to kind of like get some retargeting options in place. And then 2 to 4 weeks after the song comes out, run a campaign. So about a month is pretty solid. Desi Maggie asks, last one, only 40% of my Hyped Smart Link traffic is engaged with the music. Is that because of bots, mistake clicks, or people who may feel misled as my link artwork is different? Yes, and yes, I think, to all of those. I'm guessing when you say... Let me go to my Hyped page, where I can kind of give everyone who isn't using Hyped a good understanding of what you're saying. But you're saying is 44% of your traffic is engaging with the music. So I'm guessing what you mean is that 44% are clicking through on your landing page. So if I look at this, I have an insane amount of these pages. Oh, does it delete stuff over time? Oh, that's kind of scary. I wonder if maybe it just doesn't show them. Anyways, I have a lot of these links. So Be Mine in particular is getting 47% of people who visited your smart link are successfully engaging with your music. So that means that 40% of the people that land on this page are converting, meaning that they're clicking one of these two buttons. And that's pretty standard, honestly. Like, it depends. You can see here that it's less. This campaign's weird because I'm running ads to 4 songs at the same time, and it's tricky. I'm running ads on all the remix songs independently, and I'm waiting to see which one does best in ads, and I'm going to put budget behind the one that does best, which is a weird way to do it, but it's I couldn't justify spending, like, giving every song its independent campaign. And since people listen to multiple songs, it kind of works out anyways, but it's a weird campaign. But if I go to, like, Miracle by Aharak, 46%. If I go to the song Dreaming, 41%. If I go to Jerry's songs Nightfall, 48%. 51% for Socialize. And then playlists are also that kind of 40 to 50% number. So that's pretty standard. 40, 50%. Yeah, that's good. And I think the reason is, I can't like 100% confirm this, but it's a combination of, one, bots. Bots who click your link and they aren't integrated to work with the API of that site, so they essentially just like open that page and then bail immediately because there's nothing to do, and that's kind of it. So the next is people who click accidentally. It's not uncommon for people to swipe up on an ad by accident, or like maybe they want to respond to the ad but they click the visit link button instead. I would think that's a small number, but it's a possibility. Number 3 is people who don't have as high intent, meaning that they hear the song and they're like, oh, cool, and they click it, and they're like, what is this page? I don't want, like, I thought it was going to Spotify. It's not worth it. Bye. Like, and those kind of people you don't really want anyways, because they're probably not going to be very committed. Like, if they're not even willing to click a second button to hear your music, are they going to save your music and follow you? Probably not. So I don't consider them to be the biggest loss in the world. And the other one you mentioned, people who feel misled as my link artwork is different. So I would recommend getting your link artwork to be the same, but you're getting 44% who are following through, so it's not too bad, honestly. YTH, what is the minimum ad dollar spend you recommend? For the type of campaigns that I usually say to do, which is these conversion campaigns, I would say $5 a day. Probably the minimum. I wouldn't do less than that. Like if your campaign's already running and you're tailoring down your budget over time, that's a different story. But if you're starting a campaign, if you're not spending at least $5 a day in those ads, it's never going to get out of the learning phase, most likely. And the learning phase is when Facebook can reasonably say, these are the right people for this ad. Let's kind of target down and find more people like that. If you never exit the learning phase, then your ad never figures out like who is the best to target. So $5 a day is kind of the minimum value that I've done and what I recommend. $1 a day, like after you get your campaign running and it's been great and you're tailoring on your budget and like the song had released like 4 weeks ago, you can bring it down to $1 a day and you'll get like little results trickle in. But that's because Facebook already knows who to target. You already taught them who to target. YTH, plan to leave a good campaign running for a long time. Yeah, so I think that answered your question. Like if you started off at like $10, $20 a day, for example, and you taper it down over time, nothing wrong with having it like a month from now, bring it down to $1 a day and letting it run for like 6 months. And that essentially costs you nothing. Like $1 a day, it's like there's so many opportunities to save $1 a day, and for most people that you can kind of just run it forever. And the Sun Collective says, "You're the man. I learned more from you in the past 5 minutes than the past 2 years." That's awesome, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad you've been learning a lot. So yeah, if anyone has it, if anyone has any last minute questions, I will leave you a couple links in the chat. So that's the link to my course that I just dropped, which by the way, or not just dropped. I've been doing a beta for a while, and I just opened up 25 more seats. I'm gonna be posting about this in my community tab, and I might open it up to a little bit more. But basically, this is a course that I'm dropping. It's still kind of in the beta, but it's kind of like almost done. So if you're interested, check out that link. Basically, it's a step-by-step process through everything that I do in this channel, just more in detail than what I already do on my channel, because I can kind of go through stuff slower than I otherwise would. Oh, actually, this is a good question. I'll answer these. I'm confused when you say leaving the learning phase. Facebook is going to learn based on my profile. They don't. So every time you do a conversion campaign, Facebook has to relearn what you're targeting, because every song's different. Your actual pixel itself, like I've seen this a lot where people will be like, I'm training my pixel, and you're not really training your pixel. Like every conversion campaign you do, you're kind of you're starting from scratch. A conversion campaign runs as what's called a reach campaign, so it just blindly targets people inside of the targeting you did, and then it will find, okay, like these people that converted had all this stuff in common, and it's going to learn. It gets better over time because it learns who converts. And that's what I mean by exiting the learning phase. Facebook will tell you right on the thing, still learning. And it recommends 50 conversion events to reach statistical significance to exit the learning phase. And if you change your ad too much, it'll go back into the learning phase if you edit it too much. So that's the learning phase. And that's a known thing from Facebook. So it doesn't really learn, like you don't like train your overall profile, so to speak. Like it's hard to explain this without getting in the weeds, but every campaign is going to have its own training thing, and every time you do like a lookalike, that's a separate like little training thing that you're doing, and you can segregate. Like you can use the same pixel for 10 different artists, and there's really no downside to it at all that I can see, because I do use my same pixel for a whole bunch of artists, and I haven't seen any impact in doing that. Also, I use my same pixel to sell sample packs, and I haven't seen any impact in doing that. The one thing that it does change is the estimated reach of events. So like when it gives you a conversion estimate, it'll say based on your profile's previous performance, this is what you can expect for conversions per day. So I think that might be a factor, but that doesn't have any impact on what I'm seeing in actual results or training. I tried running the same conversion ads, but I found that my cost per result is much higher than yours. Did you find your costs reduced over time? Over you spent a specific time with Facebook? My ads are definitely out of the learning phase. Just more context. I'm getting really good results. People are going to Spotify and following and saving. It's just costing much more. It does get better over time, but it depends how much. Because if you're seeing like $1 per result, I don't think it'll get down to like the 20 cents kind of middle ground that you could expect, or even less. You might get from $1 to 80 cents, but $1 would be very high. If you're seeing like 40 cents or 30 cents, yeah, it'll get down a little bit more. It might go down by like 25% over the course of like a week or something. But it's not going to go down from like $1 to 10 cents. Definitely not. So if you're seeing much higher results than expected, my first plan of attack is always, my first 2 plans of attacks are always try more ad sets. So if you only have one ad set, try doing 3 different ad sets with different artists in each one to test what works. The next kind of attack is to use multiple ads inside of each ad set. So I might have 3 ad sets, and inside of each ad set I have 3 ads. Because that allows Facebook to figure out what ad works in each ad set and what ad set works best overall for the campaign. So multiple ads, multiple ad sets. That's always my first plan of attack to figure out how to reduce the cost of a campaign. And that usually does it. So I would try that first. If you don't get results from that, you could try tweaking the... I'm trying to think, what would I do next? You could try tweaking the actual ad sets themselves. Like maybe instead of doing artist targeting, do genre targeting. That's the next one. You could also try doing different age ranges and maybe gender options, or maybe turning on... what's it called? Detailed targeting expansion. Usually I say turn that off, but if something's failing anyways, it's worth experimenting. You could try turning on different placements instead of just doing just stories, turning on feed placements. You could try changing your landing page to make your landing page more convertible. So if like only 20% of people are converting your landing page, your conversion cost is going to be super expensive, because basically you're paying per impression. A certain percentage of those impressions result in clicks. A certain amount of those clicks result in conversions. So if you can either make your conversion cost better, that'll change your price, or you can make your link click to conversion ratio higher. Maybe if you bring it up from 20% to 40%, you basically just cut your conversion cost in half. So that's kind of the sequence of events that I go through every time. Samuel asks, sorry if you covered this already, but have you had luck with ads directly on Spotify? No. I'm guessing you mean Spotify audio ads. I did a Spotify Ad Studio video. If you go on my channel and search Spotify Ad Studio, you'll find it. I did a $250 test campaign, and basically the result was don't use it. Use Facebook ads instead. I think it's a bad campaign type. Spotify Ad Studio is a bad option for artists at this time. It might be a good option if you're selling something to people who might be listening on Spotify, but for artists, I don't think it's the best option. Would going through Facebook ads directly be better than ToneDen and being able to see stats and perform better and analyze? So ToneDen sets up all the ads in Facebook, so you can go into Facebook ads and see the campaign they set up and see all the results in the same level of clarity you would see it yourself, because you actually integrate your Facebook ads profile. You give them access to your business manager, so they run everything through your Facebook ads business manager. So in that regard, it's the same. Now, what you don't get by using ToneDen is you don't learn how to do it yourself, but you can essentially run a campaign for them, see how they do it, and then just copy the campaign and do it yourself. But that's kind of the perspective. Samuel, yeah, it is interesting. I think it's just the type of ads, because they're audio ads. It's a 30-second audio format on Spotify free edition. So, and you have to have talking in it. So you have to essentially you have your music playing in the background and be like, hey everyone, my name is Andrew Southworth, and if you like the song you're about to hear, you can head to my Spotify profile and listen to it. And it's just super weird, right? Like, as an artist, it'd be like making a radio commercial for your song, like talking over it. if you like San Holo and Marshmallow, you might like my song too. And it's just kind of weird. It doesn't work as well as just showing them the song, and they don't let you just do that yet. So, yeah. Maybe over time they'll add like a link click option or different ad targeting options, but at the moment it's kind of weird. Desi Meiji, thanks so much, man. I can't wait to dive into more stuff from you. Sharing your stuff with all my friends too. Awesome, man. And it's 5:40 a.m. Yeah, go to bed. Good night. Glad you did the content though. Sack Dog, boosted Facebook post, just flat out waste of money for the most part. Yeah, I wouldn't boost a Facebook post. I would always go through the Facebook Ads Manager and do it there because you get way more control and you can do way more things than you can in boosting a post. Kev Ortiz, hey bro, I'm from Ecuador. That's awesome. Hey. Thomas Kemp, hey Andrew, appreciate the great info. Will your main focus being on Facebook ads these days? Do you still do any playlist promo in addition to that? Yeah, I essentially only do, all my music marketing efforts are on Facebook ads. That being said, it's kind of a diverse pool of stuff. Now, I also, in terms of like marketing my music, it's not just Facebook ads. There's also an organic social media component to it, making content, how to make content. So I'm planning more videos where I talk about the organic side as well, because it's not just about Facebook ads. And in fact, I had Adam Ivy on a video a couple weeks ago because I wanted him to talk about things artists should get fixed before they dive into ads. And because if you run ads before you have some kind of organic aspect in terms of like content production and learning who your target audience is, like your ads are going to be a lot more expensive. So in terms of content I'm covering on this channel, I do a lot of Facebook ads, but it's also on like how music algorithms work, like Spotify algorithm and Apple Music algorithm, and also how to make the video ad that I do in Premiere Pro. And McEvan, I think you're asking that question. Do you do the step-by-step ad video on your channel? I do have a video tutorial where I show how to make the ads that I use. And I just use Premiere Pro. And they're super easy to make too, but yeah. Oh yeah, and Sackdog, have you had genuine traction with Submit Hub? So yeah, so in terms of recommending other options than Facebook ads, I think Facebook ads are by far the best way to market your music right now. The second way that I recommend is I recommend people use Submit Hub. And there's a couple of reasons why. So let's say you have $300 to promote your next single. I would say spend $20 to $30 on Submit Hub premium credits and submit there. And spend the other $270 on Facebook ads. And because those playlists and blog things you can get from Submit Hub credits can be very worthwhile. They're not as effective as Facebook ads, but they have their place, especially with blogs. Spotify playlists, like they're good, and they can help you boost your first week numbers, which is important. But I don't recommend more than like 10% of your overall budget. And so yeah, I recommend Submit Hub. Now, just to be full transparent, I'm a curator on Submit Hub, so yeah. But I still use it as an artist, and I don't get any extra perks being a curator on Submit Hub. Like I don't get any extra special attention, or I don't get any extra chances of being accepted. I actually have a separate profile for my artist account than my curator account, so people wouldn't even know that I'm also a curator. And I still use it, and I still get good placements. And it's a song by, like, some songs flop on Submit Hub and then do great in ads, and some songs do great in Submit Hub but they do bad in ads. It's kind of, they're two different ways. But I would say in general, like, don't use any Spotify playlist promotion companies. Like, well, I don't want to name drop here, but I have a video on I've had a couple of videos on playlists before. And don't rely on user playlists. Don't use Spotify promotion companies. Don't use Spotify playlist promotion companies. Like Facebook ads, just Facebook ads, and Submit Hub a little bit. I think this has made me feel better about my results from Rhea. I use Hyped It too, and my conversion rate is currently 50%. That's good. My best per stream is 10, what is that, pounds? Is that euros? Pounds? I think it's pounds. My worst is $1. I'm guessing you mean your ad set costs. Oh yeah, so that's why I noticed that the my viewers in the stream were going down for a bit, and then I saw them randomly spike up, and I was like, what is happening? Why are they going back up? It's getting later and later, but I guess it's UK is 5 hours ahead, right? So it's starting at the point where people are waking up, and like people who are east enough, I guess. But yeah, I would say, so if you mean different ad sets, like if the best ad set is getting you 10 cents per conversion, that's very good. $1 per conversion is not, but 10 cents per, it depends what you mean by per stream, really. It could either be very good or it could be okay, but feel free to let me know in the comments. Although I'm going to end the stream shortly, but if you can get it in quick, I'll answer. As for me, it's almost 1 in the morning on a work week. So Kev Ortiz says, brother, I'm a subscriber who speaks in Spanish and doesn't understand much English. In your next video, if you can put subtitles in Spanish, would be great. So I don't speak Spanish. I did one video where I sent it to rev.com and had it transcribed in Spanish, but the problem is it costs like $3 per minute. And if I'm doing a 10-minute video, that's $30 per video in subtitles. And also, if it's an hour-long video, it's like $150 to have it translated to Spanish. So that's why it's just like it's completely infeasible for me to do. So I wish I could do that. I know YouTube has automated transcriptions, and I used to close caption every video in English, and I did that for a few reasons. One is, of course, like people like hard of hearing or whatever who want to be able to see, and the other aspect is some people who are better at visual learning, like even though they can hear fine, it kind of like it works better for them to also see the subtitles. But it just got like Rev raised their prices, and it just got hard, and it takes time also. Like it doesn't happen immediately. There's like a 24-hour lag, and I stopped doing it, unfortunately. But maybe over time I'll be able to do more and more of it. It's just like the pricing is just, when you do a 50-minute video, like to spend $100 a week or something running captions, it's hard to justify it. Disheartened says, on Spotify artist profile, upcoming tab, when you want to pitch a song a couple of weeks before you release it, I don't get the option. You should have that option, and it has nothing to do with DistroKid. It's a Spotify for Artists thing. It doesn't matter. Like if you have your Spotify for Artist account, it should let you pitch the song. Now what happens is when you submit the song on DistroKid, it won't show up in Spotify for Artists for like a day or two, maybe a little more if it's a weekend, like up to 3-4 days or something. But then it will show up in there, and then you can pitch it. So if you just submitted it, it won't be there immediately. It'll take a couple days. But after that, you should see it. And if you don't see it, contact Spotify customer service, and they'll get back to you within 24 hours. I don't remember how you do that, but I think on Spotify for Artists, there's a help button or something, or a contact button. Just do that, contact them if you're not seeing it, and get that clarified, because it should happen. Kev Ortiz says, is it advisable to update the ad when it is already giving results? Example, 1 cent per click, and when you change some interest, increase. Okay. No, it's not good to change an ad if it's doing super well, because what happens is kind of like a relearn. So with conversion campaigns, right? When you change the ad, it can, if you change the ad set, go back into the learning phase. So if it's doing super well, I wouldn't touch it. If it's not doing super well, then that's a different story. You might duplicate the ad set if it's doing well and change the new ad set instead of changing the ad set that's doing well. You avoid the risk of that. And Rhea or Rella, I'm assuming it's Rhea. Yes, my best performing ad set is getting me 10 pence per Spotify stream, and the worst is getting me £1. Oh. Yeah, so 10 cents or 10 pence per Spotify stream. That's actually pretty good, especially if it's pre-algorithmic playlists. I wouldn't worry too much about, like, if you're getting results from a expensive country versus a cheap country. I typically, in my ad sets, I target every Spotify country. So I'll target every ad set will have every Spotify country in it. The only difference between each ad set is the artist that I'm targeting. So I might target, like, for example, Linkin Park, Post Malone, Hollywood Undead. But every single one of those ad sets has the same countries in them, worldwide Spotify countries. And what happens is when you hit the algorithmic playlist, I hit a song that, for some reason, Brazil was by far the cheapest. My song Socialize. And you can see here, essentially all of my ads, not all, but like 90% of my ads were getting me results in Brazil because it was the best resonating audience. Almost none of the ads got me results in the United States, but when it hit the algorithmic playlists, like Discover Weekly and Release Radar, the reason why it's so little Release Radar is because your song can only be in Release Radar for 4 weeks. So eventually it will leave Release Radar, but Discover Weekly is that it got put in the United States and Germany and Italy and like all these other countries that the ads weren't in. They're Discover Weekly. So it ended up being the United States is the third biggest country on the list, even though almost none of my results came from the United States. And let me see if I'm actually correct with that. Because I haven't actually looked this up. This was just kind of based on what I was seeing and what I remember. I was running the ad. So this is my Spotify Socialize campaign. 14 results from the United States. 14. 14. Right? Lifetime. Socialize campaign. 14. Let me go to Germany. 212. So that one's more. So that makes sense. Germany was getting me good results. But the United States, 14. If I go to Socialize, United States, 4,500. So I've heard people say that, like, there's this whole aspect of, like, you can use cheap countries to create algorithmic playlist activity and then get results in expensive countries. That's apparently true. So, I haven't used that data to change anything. I still just run global kind of Spotify ads, and I just let that happen. But it seems to work that way. Even Canada. I bet almost none of my results came from Canada. 31. Yeah. So, and then if I go back to there, I don't want to spend too much time. Brazil, by far, the best result, or the most common result. Germany was pretty high. Italy was also pretty high. Mexico was also pretty high. And you see that reflected here, Germany, Italy, Mexico. But, like, what about the UK? 88. So, like, the United States, Canada, and UK should not be on this list at all, but they're still one of the highest groups. Anyways, I spent enough time rambling about that. Yeah, it is hard, and if it just shows learn more, I don't know what to say. I've never had that happen, but I'd contact them. They're pretty fast, like 24 hours. Spotify for Artists should get back to you. Yeah. LabelWorks is recommended for artists. What is LabelWorks? Oh, they're a distributor. Never heard of them. They actually have a couple of other services, it looks like. Tom the Fusician. Hey man, it's been a long time since I've seen you on something. I think the time zone in the live streams doesn't work out for you because I usually do these late, and you're like in Italy or something. You're hours ahead of me. So the one time I can make it to the stream of yours, I gotta go to work in an hour. Sucks to be in. Yeah. For me, I tend to be kind of a night owl, so I do all my stuff on my live streams. Like today, I start at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but usually I do 8:30 p.m. And for everyone in Europe, that's awful. For people in the United States, it's pretty good because it means if you're in California, it's right after work, and if you're in Eastern Standard Time, it's like after dinner. So that's kind of when I do it. Sack Dog, would Facebook ads be a good way to increase followers, or is that a fool's errand? What I mean is, should Facebook ads be used to just reach new people or those who like your page and your friends? Oh. Do you mean... So if you mean followers as in Spotify followers, yeah, you can totally use that to increase Spotify followers. If you mean followers as in Instagram followers and Facebook followers, I wouldn't recommend trying to do that. It will happen as a side effect, meaning that you're sending people to a song on Spotify. As a side effect, you'll be growing your Instagram profile and your Facebook page profile and your followers on Spotify. You can also send people to your Spotify profile instead of a song, and that will grow your followers on Spotify, and that's definitely worth it. I would not recommend trying to grow your social media following with Facebook ads, just because there's value in social media followers, but there's a lot more value in Spotify followers. But yeah, also it's harder. I feel like it's weirder to grow stuff on social media. Like, I don't know. It's weird to run an ad and send it to a social media page, because someone's gonna be like, what? It's just kind of weird from a consumer to get that ad and then actually follow you. Like, I think it's weird. I've never had good results doing either. Disheartened, yeah, it's weird. I've gotten hits from Spanish countries, yeah. Brazil tends to be super cheap with every time, which is good. I've gotten messages, like DMs, from these people from Brazil, and like, so I know that they're legit. And I looked it up, and Brazil has a huge electronic music following. And you know, if you even just Google like Brazil EDM, there's Brazilian EDM playlists. There's YouTube channels that cover Brazilian EDM artists. It just has a big EDM and electronic music scene, and they have giant festival shows there too. So I think that's why, like, one, it's a cheaper country to run ads to, and two, they have a big EDM following. So for me, that's good. If you're different genre, that might not be as relevant to you, but yeah. Jazz Meat, call me Jazz. I want to hire you $5K a month. Doing what? If you want to hire me for something, you can hit me up with the email in my description, and we can talk. YouTube live stream, probably not the best place to chat about it, but send me an email and title it, make it obvious that I know who you are, so that it doesn't get missed, and we'll talk. TDBG, thanks. Rhea, thanks for answering my question. Super helpful. Awesome. Yeah, feel free to. I was going to try to do 2 live streams per week. Today is usually my music review Monday stream, but I overslept. I took a nap and it turned into sleeping. But my plan going forward is to try to do like 2 live streams per week, one like this and one music review. So feel free to join in. I might mix up the times a bit so that I can help out some of the Europeans a little bit more. Because this time is great for me, but it's not so great for if you're in like Italy or the UK or something. Oh, Tom, you're not Austria. Yeah, Austria. It's super late, and yeah, good thing you're not in Italy because of that. Disheartened. Yeah, thanks, man. Glad they've been helping you out. Disheartened also says, what countries or playlists are good for acoustic music? I don't 100% know. For the most part, when I run ads, I just target every Spotify country, and I'll show you what I mean. What I do is I Google Spotify countries, and then I target all of these countries, with the exception of India. And I know there's plenty of real music fans in India, but usually it's so cheap to run ads to India that they end up consuming the entire budget. And so what I'll do is I might put them in their own ad set and target them separately so that they don't kind of like consume every country. But usually the result is I just take them out. And I've gotten messages from people being like, I'm in India and I like your music. Like, we exist. We're here. We're not bots. And I'm just like, I know. I don't want to have one country completely consume my entire budget. I wanted to have a diverse kind of selection. And sometimes I have the problem with Brazil too. Like, it works so well that I'll like split off a different group and I'll purposefully target like the United States and United Kingdom and stuff like that, because Brazil will just kind of dominate the budget, and I want a like diverse selection of countries. But yeah, I don't know what would work best for acoustic music. I would start by targeting like all these countries that Spotify is available in, and target some artists. Like, I don't know, depends what kind of acoustic music. Like, I don't know, just Damien Rice an option, or even Dave Matthews Band, not kind of acoustic, but Ed Sheeran is kind of a different type of acoustic. Well, the few songs that he has that are acoustic. But yeah, target artists that are in that genre, target those countries, see what results you get. And you can kind of do that as well. And you can also Google, like, I'm a big Google fan, acoustic music countries on Google. And you might find that some article of someone that says, like, this country has the biggest acoustic follower. Nothing seems to pop up when I search it, but you never know. Scrub says, do you recommend Facebook ads for YouTube growth? In general, no. And you might be able to do something with it. I've never had great results with it. And there's a couple reasons why. Now, one reason is, let me get this open. So one thing I'm testing now that might change the narrative on that, is I'm testing on a service called URL Genius. And it's free to try out. You can get 1,000 clicks per month for free. And what it is called a deep link service. So what happens is you give them a link and they make you your own new fake link or deep link. And basically one thing it does is it gives you a barcode. And if you scan this, if you're watching this in desktop and you pull out your phone, let me actually do this with you. So I haven't tried this one out. But you get your camera out, you put that on there, it'll say like open this website in Safari or Chrome. And then it'll automatically say open in podcasts. So it automatically, someone can scan that barcode and go to my podcast or go to my Spotify or go to my Apple Music. So that's one thing it does. The next thing it does is it automatically routes links. So I did that on my phone, right? Whether I copied and pasted it or used a QR code, it automatically took me to Apple Podcasts instead of opening it inside of Facebook browser. So normally what happens is if you have a Spotify link and you click it in Facebook ads, yes, it will bring you to the Spotify app. It won't try to open Spotify inside of Facebook. But if you send them to a website, it will open up that website in Facebook. And if you send them to YouTube, it won't open up YouTube. It will open up the YouTube page in Facebook, which is useless to you, right? Because people won't be logged in. So that means if you send someone your YouTube video, they can't like, they can't comment, they can't subscribe, which you want all three of those things ideally. So essentially, without deep linking, namely something like this, URL Genius, if you run Facebook ads to YouTube using something like URL Genius, it will take them directly to the YouTube application, which means they can like, they can comment, they can subscribe, and you'll be, not only that, one of the most important things for YouTube is the watch time, meaning that someone watches your video. If you, let's say right now you watch this stream of mine, let's say you've been watching it for 30 minutes. If from this video you go and you watch another 10 minutes of another video, I'm going to be following you around YouTube for the next week, right? You've seen this all the time. You watch like 5 cat videos on YouTube, and for the next week, cat videos are following around YouTube. If you watch like an hour of my content, I'm going to be following you around YouTube for a couple days or a week or whatever, because YouTube's going to recommend more and more of my content. So by having people logged in when you send them to your YouTube link, that's powerful, and that's what you want. So if you're going to try that, I haven't tried a YouTube campaign with this yet, but I would bet that using a deep link service like URL Genius or one of the other competitors, that it could actually work. So that's my perspective on that. I didn't mean it to turn into that big tangent, but I'm testing out URL Genius with Spotify right now. It seems to be working good. In one case, it didn't work. In another case, it worked great. So I'm still testing it more, and I'll have a video on it eventually, but it's a cool thing. And the QR code is pretty cool, too. Like, I was trying to think of cool things I could do with this. Like, I could put this on merch, technically, you know? And it's an easy way to get your QR codes, and you can put social media posts with this and do fun marketing things with QR codes, in addition to the automatic link routing. Another perk of that is that if someone clicks this link, it will pixel them automatically on the way, and it does not violate Facebook's automatic rerouting capabilities, because a deep link is treated differently than automatic redirect. So it pixels them along the way. If they're on Android, it opens up the correct app on Android. On an iPhone, it opens up the correct app. If they're on desktop, it opens up the website. And if they don't have the app installed, it takes them to the website. So it's a cool tool, and I'm going to have more about it soon. But I was very excited to learn about this, and I heard about this through the Indiepreneur Facebook group. And someone posted about it. I was like, ooh, that's a cool thing. I'm going to test that out. So, yeah. Midnight Marty says, since I do a lot of unofficial bootleg remixes, what would you say would be my best campaign type on Facebook since I can't send over to Spotify? Because I won't upload unofficial remix on Spotify. I'd say a conversion campaign still. I would say if, depending on what website you're using, maybe if you're using SoundCloud as your main platform or YouTube, I think conversion campaigns are always the way to go, no matter where you're sending people. If you're not sending people anywhere, like you're just trying to get them to follow you on social media, then maybe you might do video views. That might work better. But typically, if you're sending people somewhere, conversion campaigns are always the way to go. DH22 says, does anyone here do shows? Any tips for marketing yourself to a venue as an independent artist? So I did a... Hair keeps flopping. I did a video with Outlook the Rapper. And I think that video was titled, How to Get Shows as a Rapper and TikTok. But he was able to leverage only 1,700 plays on his song to getting a show in Cuba, a festival show in Cuba for over 6,000 people. And he has a lot of insight into doing shows, and he said basically you want to... There's a couple things. One, there's value in building up a list in a certain place so that you have leverage to show to a venue. Meaning that if you're trying to play shows, if shows is like a huge thing for you, then it might make sense for you to target areas around where you're trying to play shows, because you can build an audience around there. And it's going to cost more, but if you're going to play shows, then that cost might be worth it, because then you can sell tickets to that. So I would say you could that's one thing you could do. You could use ads to target people around the places you want to play shows, build up a mailing list, build up a social media following, and then hit up a venue there and try to tag on to an additional show that's maybe already happening. Say, hey, I have a mailing list with like 300 people who are within 10 miles of this venue. Can I open? And maybe they're struggling to fill out the seats, and maybe you're the reason why they can fill out the seats. So check out that video I did with Outlook the Rapper last week, because I think he might have a lot of insight about that. I don't do many shows, but that's one thing I'll recommend. Would you have any idea to why the curated hip-hop playlists are harder to get placed in different genres? I don't know if they are. I haven't heard about that. Now, for editorial playlists, if that's what you mean, then maybe. But yes. So there's a couple things to that. So if you're talking about editorial playlists, then yes, they are harder to get on. I think on Submit Hub, I don't think it's any harder really, but it might be a little harder. And the reason it comes down to is competition. If you think about how editorial playlists work, like the more popular a type of music is, the more artists are going to be making music in that. And this is why a lot of indie artists seem to have an easier time. And I don't mean independent as in like independent music. I mean like indie rock or indie electronic music. Tend to have an easier time getting on Spotify editorial playlists than hip-hop or EDM or pop or even like straight up rock. But then the metal people and the rockers tend to have an easier time than the EDM, hip-hop, and pop. So, but the flip side is that it's also easier to run ads on hip-hop, pop, and EDM because there's more people to target. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It just comes down to competition. Every day there's 40,000 songs submitted to Spotify. I don't know. I'm just going to throw out a guess. Maybe every day, out of those 40,000, maybe 20,000 submit to Spotify editorial. That's a lot of songs. I'd be willing to bet that, I don't know, like 20-30% of that is hip-hop or pop. or EDM, whereas like the rest is every other genre. Just like there's way more people doing hip hop submitting to these playlists, so naturally they have to be more selective. Whereas for indie rock, like I don't know, it's probably a super small amount of artists. So if they have a couple, even if they have less playlists, like the ratio between indie rock and hip hop is so vast that there's going to be less people or less percentage for the hip hop and the EDM and the pop. The good news though is if you're a hip hop artist, you're going to have a much easier time running ads in your music, I think. Now there's a flip side to that where the more competition is, the more expensive your ads are, but there's way more people that listen, and I've marketed hip hop and it seems to actually be cheaper than marketing even like electronic music, and definitely cheaper than marketing rap. So indie hip hop will be easier to market with ads than indie rock, but indie rock might have an easier time getting on editorial playlists and even on submit up playlists because less competition and fewer other factors. So Tom the Musician, can you target a certain album or EPs? No, you can't. You can't even target every artist that you want. Like not every Spotify artist is on Facebook ads to target. Only pretty big ones. And even out of the big ones, not all of them are there. So you definitely can't target everyone. And you also can't even, if you're in a certain genre, like you're going to have a harder time than others. Like the other thing with the hip hop artists and pop artists is it's super easy to find people to target. If you're in pop, you can target Ed Sheeran, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Justin Timberlake, whoever. If you're in hip hop, you can target Travis Scott and Post Malone and a whole bunch of artists. If you're in metal, there's a decent selection, but there's not nearly as many options. If you're in acoustic, it's probably even smaller. If you're in future bass, there's a few options, but there's not too many. And so you kind of have to be creative with what you select, but you definitely can't target albums or EPs. I wish you could. I wish you could even just target everyone on Spotify. You can't target Elenium on Facebook ads, and he's huge. He's like top 100 or top 200 Spotify artists in the world. He's like number 125 in the world for most streamed on Spotify. You can't target him in Facebook ads. You also can't target a lot of those huge hip-hop artists like Juice WRLD. You can't target him in Facebook ads. It is hard, and I don't really have any insights on how to get your music on TV shows and music. There are a couple ways you could do it that I know of. For example, get on some of those websites like Song Trader, Tradr. It's spelled weird. It's like trader without the E, right? Song Trader, I think is what it's called. They have a service for like pitching to those type of things, but I'm not too big into that, so I can't do too much. I want to get someone on my YouTube channel who does that full time so that I can interview them and get more advice in that. It's kind of what I've been doing lately, finding people who make livings with music in interesting ways and trying to learn from them. But I don't have as much advice with that. The Sun Collective, I set up a Facebook campaign using ToneDen. ToneDen is super duper. Is it worth upgrading from free to $50 a month? I would say yes if you're spending enough. If you're spending like $100 a month in Facebook ads, it's too much of your budget. If you're spending $500 a month in Facebook ads, yeah, it could be worth it. Because then it's only 10% of your budget. But if you're like $200 a month in ads, like that's 25% of your budget. Like I think that 25%, you could go a long way spending $50 in ads. So if it's 25% of your budget, I would just learn how to do it yourself. Zach says, hey, I have a question. I did a reach campaign to prepare for the release of my next song, and I had 1,400 through plays on a 1 minute, 20-second video. When I retarget the audience, how many conversions should I expect? I don't know. It's going to depend. I would say 10% of those. Just a rough guess. 10%. Maybe more, but I'd say don't get too excited, but I'd say you could retarget 10 to 20% to get results. The reason is through plays isn't a super high intent because it's only 15 seconds. If you're retargeting people who are 75% video viewers, then the percentage is going to go up because they watched much more of the video. But 15 seconds, I don't know. I would say 10%. But play around with it. It's just there's just too many factors. Like there's the video quality, how long ago you ran the campaign between when you're retargeting them. There's how is the retargeting song the same song you're sending them with. Yeah. But that's what I would expect. 10 to 20%, I think, is a good expectation. Midnight Marty asks, is organic reach just dead? Naturally, I want to have followers on Facebook and Instagram, but my reach is so infuriatingly dismal. Is it the truth that ads are just my way to go? It's not dead. Organic reach is definitely throttled from what it used to be, but it is not dead. And, well, let me clarify. Facebook page likes, all the people who like your Facebook pages, that organic reach is dead. Yes. Definitively, Facebook pages have no organic reach, and I don't think any artist should actually try to build any kind of organic following on a Facebook page. It's just not worth it. And page likes really mean nothing. Like, if you wanted 10,000 likes on Facebook, you could get that for $100. And I'm not talking about with bots. I'm talking about with ads. It's just so, it's so like, the Facebook page likes, they mean nothing. They literally mean nothing, and it sucks because what happened is 5 to 8 years ago or something, Facebook like tweaked its algorithm with pages, and they used to be super valuable. Like if you had 100,000 followers on Facebook, every time you did a post, it was like having an email list. It was amazing. And then they tweaked it, and essentially like whole businesses collapsed because of this. Like, and Instagram has decreased its organic reach, but just to give you a little bit of clarity on that, let me scroll. I'll find one of my posts. So I only have like 1,700 followers on Instagram. 1,721. A couple days ago, 3 days ago, I did a post for my remix album. Let me look at the insights. It reached 500 people. It got 9 profile visits. It got 56 likes and 9 comments and 4 shares. No ads. So that's decent. If I look at my post that happened also 3 days ago with Big Jer, it got 543 reach, 15 profile visits, 66 likes. And yeah, so like organic reach isn't dead on Instagram. It's dead on Facebook for sure, but it's not dead on Instagram. So for that reason, I'll say like don't give up on organic content. Like if you want to build your following on Instagram, post ideally 1 post a day and have it be good content and have a long couple paragraph caption with it and study your data and see what's working and post 1 to 10 stories a day on your Instagram and interact with people in DMs and reply to everyone's comments, and you will see over time you get more and more engagement, you're getting more and more growth and organic reach. What doesn't work on Instagram is posting once every 3 months and not replying to comments and yeah. So I know people who have bigger followings than me, but they do a post and they don't get as much reach and they don't get as much engagement, and that's because they don't post as often and they don't reply to things as much. And or they like essentially Instagram's platform is, it's like if you're getting people to come to the platform and you're engaging with them and they're engaging with you, it's like the connection between you and their profile builds over time. So if someone always interacts with the post, you're always going to show in their feed. And if over time they don't interact with the post, then they're going to stop showing you in their feed. So the organic strategy is just shifted. It's like just because you built up 10,000 people on your Instagram profile doesn't mean those 10,000 people are going to get your post. It might mean 1,000 people or less, maybe 100 people get that post, and then if it does well, they show it to 1,000. And then if it does even more betterer, they show it to all 10,000. But it's a much different strategy than it used to be. I'm using Tone and Spotify Growth Campaign. If you had good results with one campaign, would you recommend just to copy the same campaign and run it, or just increase? You could just increase the budget in the same one. I think that'd be a solid strategy. Copying. So the thing is, if you redo a campaign, it has to relearn. If it's already doing well, I'd say just turn it back on, get more budget behind it, and see how it goes. Midnight Martyr, you are a saint for sharing your knowledge. Thanks, man. I'm glad I helped out. Gianta Day, should we use YouTube ads to boost the views and target people who have Spotify? I wouldn't recommend using YouTube ads to target people who have Spotify. I mean, like, maybe you can get great results with it, but I haven't found it to be worthwhile. I'd say Facebook ads are the way to go. And I also don't know if you can target people who have Spotify. Like, the targeting on YouTube ads and Google ads, AdWords, is much different than the targeting on Facebook. On Facebook, it's targeted around people who have interests in groups, and there's a lot more options. On Google ads, it's more about people who searched for a certain thing. So the strategy is a little bit different, and generally Google ads platforms are more expensive than Facebook ad platforms. In general, it's worth a test, but I'd say Facebook ads are a better place to start, and you can get to Google over time. Dave the Brave. Oh man, I love French vanilla Dunkin' Donuts. I actually like Starbucks more, and I worked at Starbucks for like 5.5 years when I was going through college, but there's 7 Dunkin' Donuts within a 5-mile radius of where I live, and there's no Starbucks within a 5-mile radius. I think it's like, maybe there's one. I think that one's within 5 miles, but yeah. So pros and cons of direct link versus landing page Spotify promotion. Direct link to Spotify typically, well, not typically, often, 80 to 90% of all clicks will not result in streams. Your campaign will be very susceptible to bots, accidental clickers, and people with low intent to actually listen to your music. So essentially, the campaign can entirely flop on a decently high percentage rate. With a landing page conversion-based campaign, you'll find 80 to 90% actually resulting in streams. You will be essentially invincible to bot traffic, accidental clickers, and people of low intent. And the ad campaign is going to get cheaper and better over time. And I made a video last week going about this in more detail, but in general, don't use a link click campaign. Don't link directly to Spotify. It will fail very often. And I've had people tell me, like, I spent $100 in this campaign. I've gotten like a couple thousand link clicks, but I've gotten like 20 streams. And then I'm like, they described the campaign to me. It turns out they used a link click campaign, and it just flopped. And they didn't notice it. And they wasted all that money. They wasted all the time. And it just flopped. And I've had that happen too, and it sucks. But that's the nature of it. Don't directly link to Spotify. It typically does not go well. It used to go well through like 3 or 4 months ago. I had campaigns where it went fine, but then all of a sudden it just started failing me repetitively, and I noticed that from other people too. They're just like, it's not working for me anymore. So conversion campaigns, landing pages, that's the name of the game right now. It might change in 3 months from now, but right now that's the game. Vivar. Hey, Andrew from Chile. Hey, in what post do you teach about conversion campaigns? 2 weeks ago, I had a video called Spotify. I'm completely blanking out. Spotify algorithm hack, I think it's called. And I essentially just describe how I did my most recent campaign. And let me drop some links in the chat. So this video that I'm dropping in the chat right now is my most recent video on how I do my ads. This week and next week, there's going to be another video updating that further. It's 99% the same to that video I just dropped in the chat. So yeah. Now the thing I mentioned about why you should not directly link to Spotify, that is in the second link that I just dropped in the chat. Yeah. Disheartened, what do you think if I spent a certain amount of money for Facebook ads at a time, like $20 for length of a couple days versus $500? I don't know. So the way I typically do my ads, I just do a daily budget. So I'll do like, $30 a day, or $20 a day, or $10 a day. I don't usually do for like a certain capped budget. But I will do like the first 3 days. I might do like, let's say, okay, I'm spending $50 a day for these first 3 days. And then after those 3 days, I'll go in, I'll change the daily budget to like 20. And then I'll run that for the rest of the week. And then after that, I'll go in and change it to like 15 and then run that for a week. So that's usually my strategy. I don't know how it would change your results by tweaking the budget so much. You don't want to change your budget too dramatically at a time. Usually, you can get away with it, but it's better to do like small tapered changes than randomly be like bunch of money, almost nothing. Bunch of money, almost nothing. Like it's better to kind of have a wave that you ride than have all these kind of spastic changes. Official Shorty Mike says, I released my new single and want to increase views on YouTube. I have a conversion campaign going using Hyped It as the middleman. The views are climbing, but really slowly. It really depends on what your cost per conversion is. You could... it's good to boost a music video. I prefer to boost Spotify. Not boost, but I prefer to run ads to Spotify than YouTube because it's much easier to predict how to take off in the Spotify algorithm than the YouTube algorithm. It's essentially impossible to game the YouTube algorithm, just the way that it works. It's complicated, and you can run ads to get people there, but it's never going to take off in the YouTube algorithm like it would take off in Spotify. The Spotify algorithm is very predictable, essentially. But if you want to do it, I would say try to use a deep link solution like URL Genius. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. URL Genius, you can have it so when people click on Facebook ads, it takes directly to the YouTube app. If you don't use a deep link URL solution, when someone clicks your link, they're going to be on YouTube inside of Facebook, which means they won't be logged in, they can't comment, they can't like, and they can't subscribe, which means you lose almost all the benefits you want out of a viewer. So if you're going to do YouTube, use a deep link software or service like URL Genius. I haven't tested it fully for YouTube, but that's my theory, and it's working well for Spotify. So, 18 cents per conversion, that's decent. Honestly, that's pretty decent. But I think one of the downsides is that you're not linking directly to the YouTube app, meaning that anyone that's on mobile that's converting is getting this very subpar experience, and they can't follow you. So it's kind of, you're missing out on a lot. So even if you're getting 18 cents per conversion, which is good, you're still missing out on a lot of perks because of the way, like when you click a Spotify link in Facebook, it links to Spotify. When you click a YouTube link in Facebook, it opens in Facebook. It doesn't open in YouTube, which sucks, but that's just the way it is. Midnight Marty says, so go to a smart link or smart URL link versus direct link to Spotify. Yeah. I don't use smart URL. I use Hyped It or Toneden. But yeah, you go to a landing page with pixel integration and conversion events instead of a direct link to Spotify. Check out one of those links that I put in the chat. Preferably check out both of those links I put in the chat. May says, or MAE917 says, if we do Instagram ads, would you recommend to make a landing page with... yeah, make a landing page. Check out the links I dropped in the chat. That'll give you a little more clarity and detail. I typically will do Spotify and Apple Music on the landing page and nothing more, because the more links you add to that page, one, people get decision fatigue, which they're just like, there's so many options, I'm just gonna leave. I don't want to pick one. Two, you're diluting your results. Someone might say, let's say someone has Spotify, but you have a YouTube link and a SoundCloud link on there. Someone might say, well, I'm going to click on YouTube. And some might say, well, I'm going to click on SoundCloud. Well, all of a sudden, you just lost a bunch of Spotify results, so you're diluting your own ad campaign, which means that your results in Spotify are going to suffer. And since you're not putting enough budget to actually impact SoundCloud or YouTube, you're not going to take off on those either. So by adding all these other platforms, what really happens is instead of succeeding on one, you fail on all five. But yeah, you could use if you're focused on Spotify, try to just use Spotify. If you're focused on getting sales, put just Bandcamp and optimize for try to target people who like music downloads, for example. Hey man, where are you from? I'm from Massachusetts, so East Coast. Warcute said, hey Andrew, have you tried TikTok ads? Are they any good? I do have access to the TikTok ads beta, and I've been stressing out about what content to run, because I can't just run my same ad campaigns, right? I can't just put a piece of the artwork up and do it. That's not going to do well on TikTok. I just know it. So I've been kind of trying to figure out what type of content to run, but I do have access, and I've been fooling around with the ad platform to see how it works. The targeting options are much more limited than Facebook at this time, but it's pretty fledged out. They even have a TikTok Pixel. I don't have a way to use it yet, but they have a TikTok Pixel. So I'm gonna have stuff in the future. I was planning on having an ad campaign going live today on TikTok, but I think it's might be going live. Well, I guess now today. Today's Tuesday, so I meant to have it going live yesterday, but I think today I'm gonna have it go live. But hopefully by like Friday or something, or next week, I'll have a video on it to share how it's going. But yeah. Anyways, we've been going for almost 2 hours and 40 minutes, so I think this is a pretty good place to call it. It's getting like to be 1:30 in the morning, so thank you very much for everyone who's hung out with me for the past like 3 hours. I hope it helped you out. I'm gonna try to do streams like this more often because the demand seems to be high. People got lots of questions, so if you want to subscribe to my channel for some reason, subscribe, and yeah. Also, I have a Patreon. Links in the description. And aside from that, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.